online și aici care suntem fizic prezenți la seminarul științific Provocări ale geografiei moderne, cu participarea invitaților noștri de la Universitatea Pedagogică din Cracovia, Polonia. Avem 3 profesori, 3 specialiști, cercetători în domenii ale geografiei fizice și geografiei umane, care cu această ocazie sper că să fie de folos și interesant pentru toți noi să mai cunoaștem perspectivele geografice de cercetare care sunt realizate și în Polonia, să avem un schimb așa de idei, de experiențe, de informații și sigur că să continuăm această tradiție de seminarii, aș zice eu, internaționale, deci prin cooperarea dintre specialiști și instituții din diversele țări, în primul rând cele din Uniunea Europeană, care nu este așa de complicat și le putem organiza, mai ales foarte bine că unii colegi reușesc să ajungă pe la noi, cum este în cazul dat. Vreau să-i prezint foarte pe scurt, poate o să revină fiecare cu ceva detalii și sigur că dacă o să fie întrebări, sunt binevenite oricând. Prezentările, limbile de lucru, engleza și româna, dacă va fi cazul undeva de detaliat sau sigur că vor fi și prezentările în format PowerPoint care ușurează înțelegerea subiectelor, dar dacă va fi cazul, vă rog, interveniți și pot traduce o parte sau deci face un rezumat din anumite aspecte care pot fi de interes. La fel în cazul întrebărilor, sigur că. Deci avem prezență la noi pe domnul conferențiar dr. Pavel Struș, un prieten, de fapt, vechi al meu, încă din studenție, care au fost interesați de Moldova din acele timpuri, au venit cu expediții pe biciclete din Cracovia, atunci prin anul 2004 și am primit la Lozova în jur de 20 de polonezi geografi. Păreri de bine în prezent, sigur că deja am continuat ambii tărâmul geografiei, cercetărilor, încât la fel, domnul Struș este șeful departamentului de GIS din cadrul Institutului Geografic a Universității Pedagogice din Cracovia și un specialist în domeniul geografiei mediului, sistemelor informaționale geografice, biogeografie și alte domenii care le-a abordat, inclusiv prin cercetări chiar în regiuni mai îndepărtate, nu numai în Polonia, dar și în Venezuela și în Republica Saha-Iacutia, de exemplu, și în alte părți ale lumii unde au realizat cercetări colegii noștri polonezi. Alt invitat este domnul Krzysztof Widerman, tot de la Institutul de Geografie Universității Pedagogice din Cracovia, din Polonia, conferențiar doctor, specialist în geografia economică, în particular, inclusiv în aspecte deci, ale geografiei urbane, care și o să prezinte deci, niște rezultate ale cercetărilor și sper că la fel informații interesante și utile din acest domeniu, inclusiv de amenajare teritorială și urbană. Și domnul conferențiar dr. Tomasz Padlo, un specialist important în domeniul geografiei umane din Cracovia, care abordează la fel și subiecte mai largi de geografie politică, inclusiv de geografie istorică și sigur că va veni cu o prezentare legată de percepția geografică, tot un domeniu interesant în investigațiile geografice. Mai avem și invitați din partea comunității polonezilor din Republica Moldova, colega noastră Valerina Țurcan de la Institutul de Ecologie Geografie, care ne va face o prezentare succintă despre urme ale polonezilor în Republica Moldova. Da. Asta este la fel o punte de colaborare, cred, și foarte importantă, că relațiile noastre dintre Polonia și Moldova nu sunt de dată recentă, dar sunt chiar la începuturile statalității moldovenești și acest spațiu a avut multe interferențe cu Polonia, atât istorice cât și culturale. Sigur că nici geografic nu suntem chiar atât de departe. Da, mai departe o să dau cuvântul invitațiilor. Sigur că și vă mulțumesc pentru prezență. Mă bucur să organizăm acest seminar care se va păstra la fel și în format online și deci stoca. Mulțumiri foarte mari în primul rând Institutului de Dezvoltare a Societății Informaționale și personal domnului director Igor Cojocaru pentru suport, pentru găzduirea acestui eveniment și pentru toate lucrurile extraordinare pe care le desfășoară acest institut în promovarea științei, inclusiv prin aceste forme de seminarii științifice online și pe platformele academice din Republica Moldova. Îl rugăm atunci pe domnul Pavel Struș să înceapă cu prezentarea, care este... Deci prezentarea se numește Analiza geodiversității și hărțile ca exemplu de cercetare sintetică a mediului. Și aici, sigur că sunt interferențe cu mai multe domenii, nu numai geografice, dar și ecologice și de interes științific general.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's very good to be here again in Moldova and to cooperate with very nice geographers from this country. I have the presentation in the PowerPoint, so I will share the screen now. It should be seen for everyone, I hope. Okay, I am a cartographer and specialist for geographical information systems from both sides, physical geography and human geography also, because the cartographers are known to just make maps of every topic that is possible. So when somebody asks me if I'm physical geographer or economical, I just tell I'm cartographist. Long time I was searching for a topic that I can produce good-looking maps, good-looking thematic maps, and I found the geodiversity topic. So diversity of environment from many points of view, as I will tell you, and I try to make geodiversity maps of geodiversity of many areas in the world, and I was trying to find a way to make the same maps, so you can look on them at the same time for many areas, Arctic areas, tropical areas, also for Poland, mountainous or even flat areas. So I will show you today the example from Venezuela, from Canaima National Park, this ancient lost world Tepuy Mountains, as you can see somewhere in Discovery Channel. So this flat mountains with steep slopes, with endemic flora and endemic animals on it. So to check if the geodiversity maps are good, easy to make for such areas, we conducted the research there. Of course, I've never been there. I've been once in Venezuela, but not to Canaima National Park. All was done remotely, just by the data from the internet and so on. So just the photos to see how the terrain look like. Okay, Salto Angel, the highest waterfall in the world. Okay, the geodiversity itself, it's a range of diversity from physical, geographical point of view, and also geographical, geological, geomorphological, soil science, hydrological, and you can put in this meaning, in this definition, all the environmental part of our world, let's say, three-dimensional world around us. So it's very wide in the term of definition. Of course, many scientists make their own definitions, but it's wide. And also many publications were published about this geodiversity. And it's very, as I told Tudor, it's very easy to publish in such topics, because geodiversity, it's not only for the research, physical geography or geological, but also for geotourism, for quantifying the environment. So even you can quantify how many euros you can bring out of this area in the term of tourism, geotourism, and such a thing. So it's very modern, and I will show you that it's easy to make such a maps, and also further the research and the description of the maps. Yeah, sorry that it's in Polish, but the next slide is in English, but it's well made. To quantify geodiversity of the area, we need to produce the geodiversity maps first to see what's a special arrangement, special distribution of this geodiversity. So you need the maps. So for the maps in GIS, you need the data. Maybe to the English. Main data for this reason is digital elevation model. So three-dimensional model of environment of the area. And also geological map. That was example, the diagram is taken from the Carpathian research, but is the same for every area, as I told you. So geological map, lithological map, and some other data like core inland cover or land use map. You can also, of course, you can produce many factor maps. So you can use the hydrological data, climatological data, so on. Then the second level, you do something, do some computations on this data. Not only computation, but few of these factor maps are produced just by expert knowledge and expert reclassifications. I will let you know on the examples of these maps. Then you just categorized it, categorized into as many categories as you want. We categorized it to 5 categories, 1 to 5. So the fifth is the highest one, the biggest, greatest geodiversity, greatest factors of its own. And then by the many statistical methods, you can join these maps together and produce the final geodiversity maps. So I will show you how it is made. It was longer presentation for longer meetings, so I'll show you the data that I took. You can download these digital terrain models from many sources, many resolutions, many qualities of the data. It's for the other topic. You can bring the geological data. Fortunately for Venezuela, it was well made by Americans to search for petrol, to search for gas in the area. So we had the good vector data for Venezuela, precise. And also, but you can do this land use map, land cover maps by yourself from satellite photos, but we haven't time for it, so we use the ready globe cover data. The geodiversity on these maps were made in hexagons. It was our idea to make it in quantify it in hexagons, not in square pixels. It was idea to make the world more, maybe not complex, but in such a way. Hexagon is sometimes better for environmental studies. This hexagonal grid is sometimes better. So first data was this digital terrain model. The area is flat, and this Tepuy Mountains are very steep and some 100 meters above the foothills, even 1,000, sometimes even higher there. And geological map, so this factor maps. And first map was we call it the map of energy of relief, but in terms of GIS, it's relative height map. So the difference between the highest and the lowest point in every hexagon, and it was, I don't remember what it was, the highest value, but sometimes something like 700 meters on 200 meters resolution of this hexagon, so quite high. And you see this map divided into 5 classes from 1 to 5. Sorry for the bad legend producing GIS. The highest value should be on the top, but it was like for presentation. I know my mistake. So these relative heights are divided into five classes. We add the zeros. I will tell you why. And the geology, quite by expert knowledge, some by just counting the amount of rock classes, the types of rocks. So if in the area are just hexagons are just one class of rocks, then it gets a lower mark. If it's more, then gets the higher mark up to 5. And also these faults, geological faults, were added to add some points to this quantification. So also 1 to 5, but we added just 1 0 to it. And this map for geomorphological forms. The third map is for segmentation of environment, segmentation of relief in the geomorphological area, and it's made in Saga GIS. It's a great physical geography software, free software, which has many algorithms to automatically design the forms of relief. So as you see, almost everything is automatic, plus expert knowledge. And this is the map, not so good in results, but also useful map of stability of relief, taken from the land use map. So what types of land use are more stable in the terms of relief? What is more vulnerable for example, for landfalls or land use changes, landscape changes? It's not so obvious, but also the factor map, and as you see, it's from 2 to 5. I don't know where is 1, but maybe somewhere omitted, and without zeros. And for the terms of this research, it was on the first steps of publications, just made for conferences. So we just make the simple addition. We added all of the maps, and because one factor maps had this thousands, so 3 zeros. The second one had the 2 zeros, and the third had 1 0, and the last had one just the 1 digit. It made some result map consisting of these four factors. Of course, there was a question about setting this factor maps in this order, but this order, of course, could be changed if by expert knowledge or due to this analytical hierarchic processing, when you decide what is the weight of the factor map. So on every step of this research, you have the somehow big reason to manipulate the data, and also the computations, but the results are almost always at the same level. So almost always this relative height map, so map of energy of relief, is most important. So you can see the relief there, and in some parts the other factor maps are more visible. So this is the zoom of this map. You can see this edge of this Tepui mountain as the one of the most valuable in terms of geodiversity, which is in fact true. Maybe some, because of this flat area on the top is almost empty, just the bare rocks, and in some carcasses there are flowers, plants, and so on. Maybe not some, but not on this. Okay, and this is the other map to show as an example, the map of almost all Carpathian, Western Carpathian range, ending somewhere in Poland and Hungary, Slovakia here to the east, and even ranging even to Austria to the west. And it was a huge amount of data to compute, but with a hexagon also 200 meters. I think so. Millions of hexagons for these reasons, and the points which are here are points important in terms of geoheritage, I think, geosites. So you can see if the geosites are comparing to this geodiversity maps. That's why we started this project with my friend Ania Chrobat. She needed the background to her research about geosites. So we found the method of making geodiversity, and we are working still on this. So I will end by this time. I will tell you what's the photo, but as you see from methodical point of view, not methodological, it's quite simple. So you produce some factor maps with simple GIS algorithms, and that data that you can obtain in the internet or by yourself, by drones, by field measurements and so on, satellite, by remote sensing. Then you do some statistics and you get the final result, quite good looking result of geodiversity map. Then you publish it, for example, for Moldova. And that was for the core forest. For a while I was working in Białowieża forest with many different types of species of animals, containing zubry, so bisons, wolves, and so on. Make the maps, diversity maps for them. And from time to time, I was wearing the dress of bear, so I'm there, not showing my face there with my friends from the institute. It was useful for many parties with children, but also scientific GIS days, and I was playing the bear in these terms. Okay, thank you very much. And I have to tell that I am here also to make the map with you, the map of geodiversity of Moldova. I know your studies about the geomorphology there, but there's no complex geodiversity map of Moldova there, and we can publish it further somewhere. Okay, thank you very much.
Da, mulțumim foarte mult domnului profesor Pavel Struș. Dacă sunt întrebări la tematica prezentată, cei din sală, cei din format online, vă rog că puteți interveni. Dacă nu, continuăm atunci cu următoarea. Este o întrebare, da? Rugăm. Domnul.
Geodiversity is about, first of all, geology and landforms. But we know about the amplification effect of climate or geography or vegetation. Have you tried to incorporate also in a study of yours this effect of other?
Yes. It's a scalable map. It's good because of its scalable. Myself not, but the friends are added some hydrological bodies to the research, and also it's good that you can make the biodiversity maps. So, for example, this amount of species of plants in the area, or diversity of animals in the area. So we can every factor that you can diverse to 1 to 5, for example, or 1 to 6, you can add to it and statistically check if it's important for the diversity, because for example, I don't know, not hydrological, no sources, but also hydrology can be compared with geology, can be coming from geological compactness of the system. So relief can describe the hydrology also. So it's easy to use. Okay.
Da, mulțumim mult. Mai sunt întrebări? Dacă nu, atunci invităm următorul discurs a domnului Krzysztof Widerman, care ne va prezenta reindustrializarea ca factor de creștere economică, noi căi de dezvoltare a zonelor și regiunilor urbane. Reindustrialization as a factor of economic growth, new development paths of urban areas and regions. Da, rugăm pe domnul Krzysztof să conecteze.
Okay, hello everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you, and it's a pleasure for me that we can meet together and talk about the differences and between and maybe some common things about the development, local and regional areas of Central Europe, Central East Europe, let's say, and I will try to show you some examples of this process. But can you help me?
Yes.
But can you?
Pavel, can you be in charge of it's your presentation still. F5, like it bigger.
F5, it's probably here. Okay.
Se aude bine? Cei din mediul online?
Da, se aude foarte bine.
Mulțumim. Uneori apar probleme tehnice și... All the microphones.
Okay.
Did they make it? All the microphones from Zoom.
Okay, so I think that now you can not only see me, but also my presentation. The title already was mentioned by Dorin. The title is just one of the topic of my research, and I would like to say something more about my work and maybe just few information to try to find some poles of cooperation. So maybe I will start with one of the project with last year it was finished. It was the project who I conduct for regional marshals, regional authorities, and Polish Academy of Science and the Jagiellonian University of Krakow were involved in this project. We've made a new model of regional development, and as you can see, the map of the 6 voivodeships, and also you can see, of course, using of GIS systems. So it's also GIS systems. It's not only used in geodiversity, as Paweł showed, but also Paweł often cooperate with me for just to make such kind of new solution making maps, for example, for also my project. So for we are working together. I will show you some results of this project, but you can see this it's the title page of the synthetic report of this project. This project consists of about 20 reports, and then we produce a book. I will show it later. This is the also the project of last year. I will show you because it's very important. I'm sorry it's written in Polish, but it was a Polish project. You can see list of the Polish science institutions. This project is connected with reduce carbon dioxide and the let's say changing the role of coal in energy electricity plants. Poland has a big amount of coal, and the Polish electricity system based on the coal. And nowadays, when we just talk about the change coal for the other way of the production of electricity, so this is the problem for lots of Polish regions which are based on the coal mining. Yes, so this is not only the leading institution was the University of Economics in Katowice, because the Katowice is a capital of coal mining in Poland, and this is the institution, national institution, which cooperate with the three Ministry of the Climate and the Environment, Ministry of Regional Funds, and Ministry of let's say state ownership, because the coal mines in Poland generally belongs to the state. Also the reason for cooperation, and this is the cooperation on between the economic part, social part, because the labor force, yes, 100,000 of people still working in the coal mine industry, and the environmental aspects, new let's say environmental. This is the proof that we also cooperate abroad, and here is the chef of our department, let's say. On the title there was we belongs to the Department of Town and City Development and Urban and Rural Areas. So she's our boss, yeah. In the department. Here you can see the colleague from the France, Professor Hélène Mainet, and here this professor from Massif Central. So we cooperate how to improve the development of city, and Massif Central is also a depressive region, and the problem with migration. So people just leaving this region. So how we can make it better. So here was an international conference also, and maybe this is the proof that not only the reports, but we produce a book. So the impact of the science. This is 6 books, just only a part of this. Plenty of reports for this 6 voivodeships, yeah, and in cooperation with Jagiellonian University. So this is the product of the last year, and maybe I will show you something more. This is my previous book. Unfortunately, I haven't got my new book. This is almost done. Here you can see the new one, and I deal with some aspect of modern economy and impact of development of town, and impact of society, local society, regional society, and shift with new models of producing. So new models of manufacturing industry, and I hope that next time I will show you this book, and also maybe we can cooperate. And maybe articles, scientific articles. It's not important. It's the work studies of Industrial Geography Commission. It's also important because this study of the geography of industry belongs to our institute. So if we would like to publish something in Poland, which is important for industry, it's the best way to publish in our institute, because the most important, let's say, studies are just published by our university, and it's a professor from Polish Academy of Science, and
Nu se rulează slide-urile.
Nu se vede prezentarea.
Da, nu se rulează slide-urile. Este doar primul slide, a rămas la primul slide. Nu se rulează, cum în englezește.
Only the first one they see, but they don't see the rest of slides of you.
Maybe.
I will try to share the entire desktop with only the application.
Yeah. Advanced files. Where is the desktop?
It's in English.
Screen. Okay.
Now it's better.
Yes, I think yes.
Okay, so can I just? Okay. So
You can show preview.
So maybe just a short preview of the materials which I've already talked about. So this is the synthetic report. So I can you confirm that you can see this, and this is the report of the coal minings and the cooperation with France, and now we can just move on the books, the book. And now we are just on the slide, so I hope that now it's okay. So sorry, just
this publication is on Scopus.
Yeah, this publication is also on Scopus. So you can see, and this is also we often as you can see we publish in English language. So it's definitely one of the most international studies in Polish geography, and it's belong to our institute. But maybe what is more interesting for you, some results of our project. So this is one of the study from last year. This is the structure of employment in Poland. This is the map from our study, and you can see how it's look like. So definitely the biggest employment are in the big cities. So the Warsaw city, it's not for you, it's not surprising. Krakow city, Wrocław city, Poznań, Łódź, and Upper Silesia. And definitely there is a problem with the weak market, labor market in the province. Yeah, even if in powiat towns, cities, and this is definitely the problem. And we try to make it better. And if you compare on the structure, what is more important, you can see that the Poland is divided into parts. Definitely the western part has different pattern of the development than eastern one. There are some maybe exceptions in South Poland, but definitely this part's much more based on the industry, manufacturing industry. And we say that the Wielkopolska region, Lower Silesia, Upper Silesia region are much more developed, making much more money than the eastern part of Poland. And you can see opposite picture on this right hand side and at the bottom of the presentation is that the market, labor market based on the states and state service, so is financed by the municipality, is financed by the regional authorities, state authorities, administrations, hospitals, schools, something like this. And this is the differences between eastern and western Poland. But maybe I will show you some more information. Here we count the economic base indicators just to show what is differences. And now you can see that if you count the size of the towns, you can see that lots of the towns and has a very weak economic base. And for example, in Northeast Poland, and there's some indicators. I think that it's you can read this. It's counting if it's something less or higher or less developed than the average for Poland, and how much higher or how much less than the average of Poland. So this is the indicators. And when you count it and you put it not on the map but on the charts, you can see that there is a different patterns for the development of big cities, of bigger towns and small towns. So this is the biggest city, the capital of regional authorities, of capital of regions in Poland, and you can see such kind of a pattern. This is the big cities, but you can see that the manufacturing industry has much more meaning, and in the smaller cities even smaller. But I would like to show you some, maybe what is more important or interesting for you, just take you to the trip to Poland and look in the local scale on the process which I've already mentioned. So we are now here in Chisinau. Yeah, so when you just move here, it's the Wrocław town, yeah, the capital of Lower Silesia, and let's say the capital of all historical region of Poland, of Silesia, the most industrial part of Poland. So when we just go to the Wrocław, and you can see the town, and I will just want to show you some result of development in small communes, rural communes. One of the rural communes is Kobierzyce, Żurawina, and Domaniów. And I will show you the difference pattern of the development in the same area, let's say. And now the some maybe positive aspects. I don't know if we can see this, because it's a little bit dark, but you can see the difference between this area in development and this, which is very agriculture. So you can just, here is motorway. So the motorway is the problem of the development, and the difference between this area and this area, it's only one. This area belongs to the other commune than this one. This is the different commune and different parts of development. I think that it could be even seen better. This is the picture. You can see this area of development here. Yeah, you can see this empty fields, agriculture one, and the different model of development in the other commune. And now we can think just what's why it's such a difference, and then what is the result of such kind of a difference in development. Maybe just few examples of development of 90s, because this commune start to develop very fast in 90s. One of the faster development of commune in Poland, in whole 30 years of transition. So the first factory, it's, let's say, just chemical factory, but chemical factory connected with food. So I don't see the difference, because some of the food is very chemical. So if we count it as a food factory of chemical factory, this is the factory of electricity plants and electricity parts for industry, automotive industry, logistic center of 90s. And then you can see modern investment. All are in these rural communes. It's only several thousand of people, and you can see just big development. And Amazon, it was new investment, let's say a few years ago, one of the biggest Amazon investments. So even now you can see this this development. Maybe I will show you after Poland joined European Union in 2004, in 2005, 2006, big investors, not especially from Western Europe, but also from Asia. You can see the Korean firms, maybe some Korean and Western European factories. This is the one of the biggest Poland park, industrial park. And you can see that this park is not working in big city, but in a rural commune. And this is, sorry that it's in Polish, but it's workplaces, the numbers of workplaces and the numbers of investment. And it was conducted in 2006, 7, and 8, because there was 2 years when this park was established. Maybe I will just show you, this is nowadays very important firm, the LG Chem. Previously, this was the production of TV sets, of these screens for laptops, and nowadays it's still this kind of production, but now the LG Chem became the biggest world factory, or one of the biggest factory, just for battery production and battery for the transformation, for example, for cars, for electricity, mobility, and this direction. So you can count the workplace just from only this one part of the development. Maybe some other investment, there is plenty of the investment, and it's still only one of the commune. And what is the result? The result is that Poland have also, the cities have a public transport. It's very uncommon to have a public transport in rural areas, especially when the public transport is made by the rural areas, and this Kobierzyce have one. You can see this is the one of the school in Kobierzyce. This is the aerial view. You can see the aerial view, and you can see this is front. And if you would like to see, for example, other schools, these are other schools in the other rural areas. Average number of citizens in these villages is about 1,800, 1,000. So such kind of schools are established there. And you can see also the inside parts of the school. This is the main school in Kobierzyce, how it looks like. And of course the heritage. We often think that the heritage, it's for the major, it's a very big problem, because heritage needs lots of money, and we have a problem with roads, with public service, something like this, and people think how to take money for example, restoration of old buildings. And in Kobierzyce, it's normal just to restore some other object which was totally destroyed, but it's developed. And also because I've mentioned that this was the commune, rural commune, so Kobierzyce would like to be seen as a small towns, not a rural area. So you can see the development and replacement with this let's say building which urbanistic of this area. It's typical for a rural area, and it's transforming to the for example, pavements, which are definitely much more connected with the cities or towns, not with the rural areas. And such kind of the transformation could be done because this investment processes. And some public spaces and public services. Here is the police station, and here is the medical station, also found by this rural commune. And now we can see the center of the place. And when we compare this development with what was before, and I will show how this commune looked like 25 years ago. This is the city center of this commune. And such kind of a transformation for 25 years, and how would it be possible, how could be done, and what was the policy, and just have a short look to the opposite side, or maybe just in the figure, yeah? Start with very low position. The Kobierzyce was very poor area, definitely, very poor area, very big unemployment rate. And now the development is, you can see much bigger. And here it was the time when Kobierzyce entered the European Union. So before European Union, the development started quite nice, and then started even much bigger. And nowadays there is a problem because everybody who wants to work have a workplace, they quite big salary, something like this, and people investors still would like to invest in this area. And maybe I will show you some conclusions, but now we can move. What is on the opposite side of the border of the Kobierzyce area? We can move to Żurawina or maybe to Domaniów, yeah? Because let's see how policy in the other places. This is the last year photo of the center of Domaniów. It's look like this, nothing changed for 25 years, and it's just the opposite place. And there is sorry that it's the pity that it's in Polish, but I would like to quote the Polish magazine. And here is the local authority, local government, let's say local major, yeah, and he just argue with the powiat administration who should work on this pavement, because commune wouldn't like to improve this because they say it should be made by powiat authorities, and powiat say we haven't got enough money, you should make it as a commune. Yeah, and if you compare with the commune of Kobierzyce, you can see the totally difference. This building belongs to the administration of powiat, so administration building such kind of condition. If you move to the Żurawina, you can see last year photo. I take it last year, this August, sorry, not August, October. And you can see the very former events, and it's completely not important for investor, any other investment. And you can see what is going in this village. And if you just enter this one of the places, you can see the new laptops for the major of this commune. And if you ask, what is the difference between this Żurawina and the difference between Kobierzyce? Kobierzyce belongs to the best developing commune in Poland, and Żurawina is famous because it is first commune in Poland who go bankrupt. The same place, the same, you can see, and only the local conditions make the differences between development. And it's one of the area of interest, how we can develop, for example, places, how, for example, industry could be important. And now just a few examples of this new book. I think that it will be published. So nowadays we are just, because I show you the local conditions, yes, and what local should do. But when we look globally, nowadays we have a shift in the way of production. So this book is about the Industry 4.0, yeah, and the new model of industry. It's a Fordist industry, post-Fordist industry, and new model of industry. And this new model of industry is starting to develop very quick. One of the reasons was COVID and the closed factory, so automatic work, home office work, something like this. So even this production started for revolution, yeah, as I said, this autonomous production. So now we are thinking about the new model of the production, and also maybe I will show you on this. And the other thing, what is important due to the COVID, it's not only the problem with lockdowns, but it's also the problem with value chains. And global value chains start not working properly. And for example, Chinese industry, which supply lots of industry in Europe, in many points collapse. And nowadays we are just thinking to new way of the production process. And a lot of plants which are established in the Far East, in China, in, for example, even in Taiwan, in other places, now we are thinking how to move it to Europe and to what places could be moved. Yeah, for example, just to have a short places. And one of the countries which nowadays is growing fast because of the shipment is Romania. Yes, definitely Romania, a little bit in Turkey, and previous leader like Hungary, like Poland, like Czech, it's not so attractive now because, for example, Czechia, there is no unemployment. Yeah, in Poland, in east part, there is a very many places just to establish the production. So I think that this open talk, just where in Europe, the thousands of workplace could be replaced just from China or east, the Far East, and to move it to Europe, and how the countries of Poland could be open, and how local community, how regional community, the country government could just take place in this process. And I saw that the new model of the industry and the new model of paradigm, because I should this work, maybe if it will be okay, I will be the professor, and it's a theoretical model, and sorry that it's in Polish one, but new geography of industry, yeah? New model because of the shift because of the industry 4.0, and this is a new path of making environment relation industry. And this is the endogenic factors and exogenic factors to make a bigger place. And now we have just a conclusion. So I know that I talk, not a problem, because I should talk half an hour. And nowadays we are talking about new windows possibility because of the COVID, because of the industry 4.0. So the industry would like to work in another way. So we have to build another factories. We talk about mobility and electricity, just shift from the coal mine. And also we also speak about sustainability of production also. So the cooperation between the industry and the economy with environmental studies. So these are the new paradigms to build a new economy. And it's a chance for the area which are not developed well to take something for this new pattern, new models of economy, and we are trying to think out that from the COVID, it was a hard lessons for whole the community, lots of victims we know, but also it's could be a new start, new deal, and it is a question how Poland, Moldova, maybe I don't know how we can cooperate, but this is the area of our work. And if you mentioned that economic geographer would like to cooperate about the development of towns, of industry, I think that I think that it's even more time that you give me, but sorry for talking a lot. And it was a very big pleasure that I can show you what we are dealing with. So,
Thank you very much to the Professor Widerman. It's a very interesting topic as well, and useful, I think, to take in consideration for us to develop such researches. cred că este o tematică care ar fi utilă chiar în mod practic.
Ottok населения не происходит?
Da, acum trecem la partea de întrebări. Este o întrebare din sală. Deci, vă rog, spuneți și o să traducem. În română, rusă.
Dacă se industrializează țara, da? Reindustrializează. Populația nu pleacă, deci nu pierde valoarea uniștii.
Spuneți în rusă spuneți.
При индустриализации страны отток населения не происходит в другие страны?
So, by the reindustrialization of the country, there is no population that flow of population outside?
Okay. You used two words, reindustrialization and industrialization. And I think that both words are okay. I often use reindustrialization because the whole industry often going to collapse, in different regions, mainly economical one. And reindustrialization is, for example, I think that natural way that people who are living in the former industrial area would like to develop new industrial plants, new industrial models, something like this. But also there is a problem with industrialization, as you can see, when I show you the Poland, which on the west part is definitely based on the industry, and east part is based not on the industry. I think that if we talk about Eastern Poland, I will use more industrialization because there is no reindustrialization, but we have to industrialize this area from the beginning. In lots of places there was no industry at all. And you ask about the people, and this is the other problem, because the new generation, think that post-industrial areas are much more attractive. As I talk with Dorin about, for example, situation in big cities, for example, Chisinau, lots of people probably just would like to move to Chisinau from the outside, and I show you the different model of the development of big metropolitan areas, and it was just on the schemes, and different model of development of rural areas, small town areas, where there is no, for example, university, no other reason just to move, and the industrialization seems to be the way to not lose the population, because we are talking that people going outside because there is no work. And still, even in Poland, even in, for example, you look in Germany, there are still lots of small towns which are based on the manufacturing industry, on such kind of workplace, not on the central function like university administration function, something like this. But there is also the differences between when you just take, and this last models, when you take firms which are moving from, for example, I don't know, China, Korea, Germany, United States, and they are interested in manufacturing. And you can divide the manufacturing on one thing, it's creating things. So it's the industry base of knowledge, and one other part which is based on the producing the things. So if you just take the production from the other place, you can just make lots of workplace, but this place are concentrated just on the production. And if you develop something endogenously, for example, even designing some kind of tables, chairs, something like this, you have to think about creating, and it's much more modern, lots of modern, let's say, place of work there, for example, for salesmen, for other department, for marketing, because if you create, for example, even something simple, yeah, just you have to create a mark, yeah, and something like this. So it's the different let's say effects in economy, in social aspects, but I think that both investment are needed, because lots of people still probably will work in the factory, but we have to also create something for modern class, for a class of creator, for engineers, yeah. Okay, so this was the two different model, exogenic factors, and I will translate it into English, and I will publish this, but now I have to publish this in this book, because if this might be a book with new knowledge, this is one of the models of new development, and this is maybe I will show you the development made of exogenic endogenic factors, made that, for example, the head of the company, the center of research and development, the center of design, the marketing is located in this place, yes. And if you just think that the head is only the operational, yeah, the R&D are very small. For example, in the plant of Opel in Gliwice, in R&D workers, it's about 50 workers of R&D, 50, yeah. And in Opel in Germany, 9,000 versus 50 workers, yeah. And it was because the head of the Opel was in Germany, yeah. And if you compare, for example, the headquarters of Volkswagen factory and the headquarters in Poland, there is very small R&D section just to make the process of production, yeah, to design the process of production, no design of cars, of the element of cars. So definitely for people and for the post-industrial society, this kind of development is much better, because if there is a simple production, this is the area you are developing. And for example, lots of things are moved outside, for example, supply chains from the outside, yeah, but the high value production and value added, I don't know if you have value added tax, yeah, or in Moldova it is value added, it's much bigger here. And if you just make such kind of cooperation, you make lots of workplaces, yeah. Is often the simple workplace, but this workplace also is need for local economy. So okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dacă mai sunt întrebări, I see a question here from a Polish colleague from Szymon.
Oh, Szymon Biały. Oh, nice to hear
yeah,
you.
Please, Szymon, can you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Actually, my question to you is the model of industrial development you have presented is typical for Poland only, for central or eastern countries of Europe, or for Western countries? Can you answer this?
Yes, it's very important. The model is universal for industry, manufacturing industry, but definitely the difference of model, I haven't got enough slides, and I will show you the difference how this model works, but definitely this model, it's much more common in Central and Eastern Europe, yeah, and much more industry are based on the supply chains, which heads office and the main department are moved to the Western Europe, to the United States, Japan, something like this. Even South Korea, it's also very well developing country. and foreign investment often based on these models, and lots of workplaces are, let's say, simple workplaces especially in rural areas, in peripheral areas, in smaller towns. And in Western countries, yes, as you said, these models, which is based on the local sources, and for example, even small factories, for example, North Italy, the third Italy, let's say, which is based on, for example, design manufacturing design in different kind of production. Textile production, for example, is very famous. So the simple production is moved, for example, to the Central Europe, Eastern Europe, even Far East Asia, and this is such kind of a model. And in Milano, in Emilia-Romagna region, lots of factories working with this kind of model. So lots of people in design, yeah, in creation of the products, not in manufacturing them. Yeah, sometimes it's in common, but model of product, yeah, definitely. So good question. And nowadays, with when we talk about shift from the post-industrial society, we often think just to have industry, but industry of modeling, of designing, of projecting, something like this, which belongs definitely to the industry, because the making the prototypes are the subject of industry. And if we endogenously develop such kind of products, the whole of designing, it's definitely local. And it's the question, how many of industry in Central and Eastern Europe will based on this kind of model, and how many will be just on this, you know, supply chains. And I think that lots of firms from East Asia, which have to be moved to the East Europe, it's just based on this model. But generally, when, for example, the big firm moving on such kind of areas, lots of small firms started to cooperating with them, starting to supply them. And even if are very small factories, they are basing on this model, just, for example, to supply some parts of industry. And in 20 years of history of developing of Polish firms, this model become more and more popular, especially in big cities, in big in well-developed area. Yeah. So
next part of my question, if I can ask another one. What is, if you said that this model is typical for Central Europe, so my question is, what is the reason of placing investment or industrial entrepreneurship in such countries, like in Poland, as an example? Is that a cost of work? If yes, so in this case, this model is ephemeral, it's not stable, because if in next 10 or 15 years our workers would demand more money for their work, those factories and entrepreneurship will be moved to other countries, like maybe to Ukraine or even further. And this situation we observed in financial sector, where all the accountings were moved, for example, to India. All of outsourcing works were made in other countries because of the cost of work. Don't you think it's not such stable?
Yeah, definitely. If you count that something is based on the cheaper workforces, so maybe this way, If you just think that it will be stable, it means that some country will be just on the definitely lower average prices or something like this, yeah, because this is the reason. And still Poland has lower prices than the Western Europe. So your question is, we can ask in this way: if in Poland we will have sometimes equal prices, yeah, but if we have such kind of equal prices, we have to count that there will be no place for such an industry, and this industry will move to India. And in finals, in counting, yeah, it's very popular to move to India, especially. And so this is the path of high and medium economic growth, yeah. So if we will stack on if we will based only on this factory, our economic growth will be middle, because when some firm move to the cheaper country, the salary and the unemployment rate will become bigger and bigger. So probably the salary will not grow as much as it could be possible. But nowadays we are counting that making such kind of the production in lots of area also made the industry based on this model. And this model is definitely much more stable. And we just talking about new cluster, new economic cluster. We have lots of new clusters in especially west part of Poland, near Wrocław, near Katowice, Gliwice, Tychy. Bielsko-Biała, it's also a good example that lots of firms work on such kind of model of designing, and even in textile clothing industry, we can see it. And this kind of production will be stable. But for example, some part of works, if will be the salaries in Poland will be too high, probably will be moved east, but the headquarters design center will be still in Poland. And it's definitely we should go to this model and to develop industry based on this model if we would like to develop this post-industrial society. So yes, you are right, definitely that is the problem with stabilization. But I think that in our day economy, nothing it's so stable. So there is a question how to develop, how to make new factories and develop new products, because each year we have to invent, make better, and for example make better design product and something like this. And if it will be located in Poland, in Moldova, and let's say in Middle Europe, yeah, East Europe, the production will be stable.
Short question.
Yeah, short question from.
Short question. As a voice of Moldova, where is Moldova in your moment? What was the hope for Moldova?
Yeah.
And
it's hard to tell me, because I spent in Moldova 10 days and I haven't managed to make a deep research in Moldovan firms. I hope that I will know where is the place of Moldova. We visit some villages, we see some different model of development and the different situation in Chisinau, different situation in the other part of Moldova. And I would like to conduct the process in Moldova, especially in this manufacturing industry, how firms deal with the situation, how the firms develop, and what is the possibility to develop, to cooperate with for example, the European firms, because it's not so easy when you have a border. And it's one of the reasons why, for example, lots of people, lots of firms locate their factory probably in Romania, not in Moldova, because when the problem problem with transit, yeah, of materials, the problem become bigger. So firm calculate, oh, maybe Romania have bigger salaries, bigger problem with something, but there is no border, and it is also the reason why we show the big development of different firms. And as you can see also, because there was Shimon asked if there is only a question of the cost of firms of the labor force. As you can see, after the joining the European Union, lots of firms from East Asia come to Poland, not only because the low prices of products, but the production which are in Poland located could be sold in whole Europe. So if you establish the factory which are producing in Europe, you can sell it for whole Europe, your products. Yeah, so the Chinese firms, the Korean firms, Japanese firms, American firms who would like to sell its products in Europe, when they establish factory, they gain not only the low cost of prices, but they have a huge market. And for example, nowadays, when the firms establish firm in Moldova, it's not see that it's the part of European market. Yeah, so it's the problem that firms could count how many millions of people are in Moldova and how many clients we can have. And if the Moldova will be part of United Europe, they count, oh, 500 million people can buy our product with no borders. And this is also the reason why the development it's so quick. So not only just the cost of labor force, yeah. So I hope, Pavel, that I will know where will be the place in Moldova, maybe after 1 second or a few other projects. Thank you.
Încă o întrebare, da? One more question.
Ați menționat foarte bine că industria aceasta bazată pe principiul de post-producție se orientează în mare parte pe valorificarea factorilor locale, pe dezvoltarea comunităților locale. Beneficiind de anumite facilități de organizare a producției, dar și de un moment foarte important, comunicarea cu APL-urile locale, cu populația locală, care nu este așa de importantă în cazul industriei furniste, care e concentrată mai mult în aglomerație. Ați menționat foarte bine acest lucru, că deci favorizează foarte mult dezvoltarea economiilor locale și aș dori ca să puneți accentul și pe comunicare cu comunitățile locale, că este foarte important. De multe ori avem două orașe cu aceleași caracteristici demografice, cu aceleași, avantaje economice, de exemplu, cu forță de muncă ieftină. Asta într-un oraș, din investiții în alt oraș, nu din investiții. Foarte important, deci cum reușesc APL-urile să comunice cu potențiali investitori, atât din țară cât mai ales din exportare.
Yeah,
could you help me with translation?
The question was like, it is very important the cooperation with the local communities regarding the development of the industry, as well with the local authorities. And there was a remark that it is a very important point you mentioned, this cooperation between the industrial factor and the local communities, and it makes also the difference, like you show, between different communes, different authorities on the results of the development, because yeah,
I can answer, because it's very, very important, as you can see, because I said Poland, Moldova, and you can see Poland, bordering communes, totally different, the same law, the same authorities, national, the same European Union, everything is the same, but totally different image of the towns. And nowadays, if you, for example, count, if you will be the investors, it should be very strange, according, for example, to the question of Szymon, why so many new firms, international firms, would like to invest in Kobiżyce, because there is a 50,000 of workplace, even, I don't know, 15,000 of all inhabitants, if you count the small children and old people. And there is, I don't know, if there is a 10,000 people who are able to work and 50,000 of workplace, you can imagine that the prices in Kobiżyce are twice high than average in Poland. Yeah, everyone who could work. Firms need 2 years to complete the stuff to the factory. And each year, new firms establish its factory in this Kobiżyce. And this is the question why. There is, for example, if you count the salaries, yeah, there is in Eastern Poland much lower salaries than in this case, and firms don't want to move there. And 20 years ago, there was a big talk, and for example, it was between 2000 and 2005, most of the firms who are supposed to come to Poland, come to Hungary, to Czechia, to Slovakia, and authorities of Poland say, oh, maybe the Slovak are corrupt, Hungarians and corrupt firms, something like this. And the problem was totally different. It was what you say. It's not a competitive between Poland and Hungary, but it's competitive between one place and the other place. And for example, if you ask, what is the first questions of the investors from LG when they come to Kobiżyce? They ask that they have to move the big department of development, and about 50 of managers will come to Poland, yeah, and will be live in Poland. And they just think about the different location. And the first question was, show me the school when the children of this management will be attend. Yeah, show me the school. Second question was, what will be the language for teaching math or learning math for these children, learning history, something like this, chemistry, because they are Korean and they come to Poland. And have you got any solution? And if you just show the schools in Kobiżyce and the major of Kobiżyce, if you are, for example, Korean, and if you come to Kobiżyce and if you ask which language our children will be touched, the major say, Korean, you are from Korea, so your children will be touched. It's not a problem to bring Korean teachers, yeah? Even in Poland, find some mathematics, physics with the Korean language. It's a matter of how can we pay them, and it's not a problem. And for example, in the other communes where this is not possible, for example, if you move to Domaniów, and you saw the pavement, and if you saw the local school, so the manager say, oh, no, I would like to move to Kobiżyce. And then two years, he just tried to complete this stuff because there is lack of people. Yeah, and lots of people just moved to Kobiżyce, built new houses. It's a new taxes for Kobiżyce, because each of newcomer pay taxes locally. Yeah, as a salary taxes, we 1/3 is just it's for local budget, and it's the reason why just changing the environmental, changing the infrastructure, but not only the technical, that they need an airport, highway, something like this. The investor needs new school, yeah, and for example, modern way of working. For example, he asked about maybe new hospital, new medical station, something like this, and it's interesting. And if you show such kind of the places, and it will be good, like he said, okay, I could live here. For example, you can imagine that lots of managers, when they taking their wives or husbands, children, yeah, and just give them the place for living with no school, no communication, yeah, and it will be, even the salary will be very low. It will be probably impossible just to establish. And Polish government think that these foreign investors, not 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, they think that this investor not are for making products and have a normal life. They don't think like the managers, they think like the government. So they say, oh, there is a big unemployment rate, so offer investor the place with the biggest unemployment rate, with lower, I don't know, taxes, salaries, something like this, and they will rebuild these places. And for example, some degraded areas, just take them to the degraded area, and oh, what a surprise, they come to Hungary, they come to Czechia, they go to Slovakia, yeah, because the places were not good enough for the investor, not the Polish and as a place, because it's a bigger market and something like this. So I think that this local factor, it's much more important than thinking about the salary, the country, because if you product the car, you product it for whole Europe, whole world, not for the Moldavian market only, Polish market, something like this. But you would like to have a nice place for living, yeah. So it's also the result that the metropolitan area, which are the well developed, it's easier just to take investor, yeah. But I think that this is very important and good point that you think of it. I hope that Moldavia authorities also think of it, not to make information only, oh, invest in Moldova because we have cheap or low salaries, but invest in Moldavia because it's a great place for living. Come here and you will be happy. Yeah, and investor come here, oh, interesting place, I would like to make production here. Yeah. And especially you also, as Dolin mentioned, that you have lots of minority which talk different languages. It could be also very interesting for these people, because some of people say that lots of investment in Silesia, it's also that investment for example from Germany connect this area as for example some German speaking people, some German minorities, some German let's say artifacts, and they more like this area. Also, it's also the reason. So I think that it's just way to think, to take advantage of this and show people, oh, come here, your brothers live here, and it will be a nice place for living. Yeah.
So it's important to be to feel that you are welcome in a certain place. I think this is very much important, and the flexibility to show the local authorities or to adapt to not only strictly economical needs, but as you say, the cultural, educational, religious,
socially, to feel good,
social needs, because of course people finally come for the complex of life, not only to make money in stricto sensu, like in a certain place. So this, it's I think to take in consideration also for us. Yeah, so we thank you very much, Professor Widerman.
Thank you very much.
Good luck in
hope
the future.
That we will be cooperating.
Future researchers, and we would like to invite Professor Tomasz Padlo, and with the presentation perception of Europe from different geographical perspectives. Percepția Europei din diferite perspective geografice. Sorry? Yeah, Europei. Percepția Europei din diferite perspective geografice. Tomasz, it's also a well-known human geografer. Tomaș Padlo este un geograf specialist în geografie umană bine cunoscut în Polonia, care la fel are o experiență destul de largă în domeniul cercetărilor, nu numai la nivelul Poloniei, dar și internațional. Și de data aceasta ne va prezenta la fel o relatare, eu cred că destul de interesantă, cu impact și asupra Republicii Moldova. So, Tomasz, it's your
Good afternoon, everybody. Stuszek, Dr. Stuszek, could you help me?
Please share screen. Pierwszy.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I changed the title a bit because I would like to interest you by a general reflection. Sorry, I don't know how to use Zoom.
Se vede, da?
Okay. In the beginning, this cover of the New Yorker from 1974.
Domnul Osovan, nu se vede prezentarea. Nu se vede. Nu a apărut prezentarea pe ecran.
Da, am înțeles. Încercăm să fixăm.
Is it okay now?
Se vede?
Acum da.
Okay.
Can you see the? Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna be like an inspiration for my research, but it wasn't, because I found this cover a bit later. You can see the view of the world by New Yorkers from 19th Avenue. So you can see that everything what's around the place of living, the place of perception, is very detailed. So we have 9th Avenue, detailed buildings, cars, people, etc. 10th Avenue is also quite visible, but the Hudson River is like a border of our perception. So everything what is on other part of Hudson River is less known and look in very stereotypical way. So we can see just a few places in USA like Las Vegas, Nebraska, etc. Neighbors like Canada and Mexico, and somewhere there far away from New York, there's a Pacific Ocean with 3 important players in the 70s, like Russia, actually Soviet Union, yeah, Japan and China. So 70s, it was like a golden age of research about mental maps, especially in sociology and human geography as well. But last years, I can find that the scientists started to think again about this. This is another cover from The Economist, 2009. So you can see totally different place of perception of the world, I mean Beijing. So in the same way.
Dorin, probabil este o altă prezentare acum pe ecran.
De ce?
Nu știu. How Chime sees the world.
Da. Asta este, da.
Asta, bine.
Da.
Geopolitical situation changed, so another center of the world is China at the moment, and Beijing, especially the capital of China. So you can see perception of the world by Chinese, according to The Economist, like 10 years ago. So we can see, of course, very detailed places in Beijing, but on other parts of the world, we can see very stereotypical way of perception. So actually very important for China islands on the Chinese Sea. We can see Japan, we can see Taiwan, of course Chinese Taiwan according to Chinese. We can see America with the Wall Street. It was a time of crisis in 2009. And Africa, where Chinese companies work very hard and in a very efficient way. And look at the Europe, just important haute couture brands like Hermes or Prada. So we can see that in general opinion, the world is perceived in very stereotypical, very easy way. The beginning of the theory is book of Kevin Lynch, The Image of the City. In 1960, he wrote a book, published this book, and actually it was the beginning of the interests of perceiving the geographical space. He found that we perceive the space of the city in very particular and very simple way. So he found that we see the city, the space of the city, just based on the four main elements, like paths, not just nodes, sorry, and districts, yeah? As well as, yeah. If you are trying to do research about it and you are interested of this, in next decades, such an author, such a scientist like Dawson T. conducted a research about preferences for place of residence. It was very important research in 70s. Sargent and McCabe get a huge grant from National Geographic in 80s and 90s about mental maps of the world, how do people from different parts of the world perceive the world. Tversky and the Europe Roadmap project is also very important about how do people perceive the European Union. How do we talk about perception? Why it's so important? Because actually our decisions we make decisions not because of reality, but because our look on the world, because our perception. If you choose the places for living, if you choose the places for holiday even, you base not about real knowledge, because knowledge is too complex, but you look about the map of your head and imagination in your head. It's why it's very important to know how do we perceive the space, to understand, and sometimes to change our decisions. For example, another project I conducted about former borderlands in Poland. Actually, Poland in the 19th century was divided between Russia, Prussia, and Austria. 100 years after those three parts of Poland are together, on the former borderlands, there are still very limited perception of other side of the border. You can imagine that the border or Dniester River, which is artificial at the moment, yeah, but also the real, you can see that the perception of both sides of the Dniester River by people from living on the both sides are very limited because of lack of contacts or limited contacts, etc. So in Poland, we have cases that after 100 years, the differences still exist. For example, there's a map of city of Golub-Dobrzyn. Golub-Dobrzyn is a small city in north part of Poland. It's quite famous for us because of medieval castle, very important. and medieval old city, but those objects are on former Prussian part of the border. There is a Drvența River, which was the former border, and if you ask people from the Russian part of the border about mental map of their city, they don't recognize other part. It's a one city for the last 70 years. Because in their perception, the border still exists. So you can see example of the map. It's a new part from Dobrzyn, from the Russian part. There's no castle. If you ask any Pole who about the Golub Dobrzyn, everybody should recognize the castle. But there is no castle on the map and no old city in the map. Because the place of activity of the student from in Golub Dobrzyn is based just on the new part of Dobrzyn. So the river is still exists as the border. It's another word. Yeah? Our very important Nobel Prize winning poet Czesław Miłosz, in his book Native Realm, wrote, "The rotating apple of the earth is tiny and there is no longer on it geographically white spots. But it's enough here in Europe to come from its less known areas on the east and in the north to be a visitor from Septentrion, which we know just that there is cold." So probably you have similar thinking about place of Moldova in the perception of the Europe. So Czesław Miłosz, he was not geographer, but he found in a good way what is the problem of this. It's why my research was concentrated on comparison between different parts of the Europe and how do people perceive the Europe. Actually, in my research, I base on the theory of perception. Actually, our perception in sense of on a large sense is based on 4 pillars. So one is the knowledge. Actually, knowledge has 2 pillars like media, like based on media and based on textbooks. So actually, we must know that after we finish the secondary school, our general influence and impact of knowledge is much lower. The secondary school is probably the age when we are the smartest, not we as people from the university, but general people. Yeah? Another pillar is perception, another pillar is attitudes, like, for example, stereotypes. There is important influence of our society around, for example, our parents, our friends, etc., etc., and experience. If we know the place by our experience, it's another pillar of building our perception in a large scale. It's why if we don't go somewhere, we must base on just like attitudes and knowledge. Yeah. So in my first stage of my research, I traveled in 7 different cities in 7 different countries in Europe. I did my research in 19 schools. I found 8,000 respondents. 10 years later, I did it again. So I would like to combine the results, which are quite similar. It's also like a result. I also chose the Moldova. So I did my research in 2007 and 2018 in Balti. So you will also see the results of Balti. Actually, if you are interested in criteria for selecting cities, we can discuss after my presentation. It's not important at the moment. Another important quotas is Gunnar Olsson, because I like maps drawn by people, because we can find how they perceive the world by using a sketch maps methodology. So what is the geography if not drawing and interpreting lines? And what is drawing lines if not creating new objects? Lines that we draw, the way we draw them, as well as the effect of drawing, are key questions. Actually, how to hide this? So look at the map of Europe. I asked respondents about just a draw map of Europe. So if you compare 7 different cities, you can see Bern in Switzerland, Balti in Moldova, Cork in Ireland, Krakow in Poland, Niš in Serbia, Porto in Portugal, and Uppsala in Sweden. So you can see 7 different cities from 7 different parts of Europe. So different traditions, different history, different economy, etc. And when you compare, look at the some results. Average number of draw countries. So you can see then in peripherically located cities like Balti or Porto, the number of countries on the map of Europe is very limited, just 9 or 10. Yeah, mainly from the region where they are, but not only, of course. But in more central located cities like Bern, Krakow, or Uppsala, it's 15 or 17. So look at this: 2 times more countries are drawn by students from Krakow than from Balti. Of course, it's not only because of education. Yeah, it's mainly because of perception. Because when you look at the, for example, average number of recognizable countries, it's quite easy, because in every case, 1 or 2 countries are recognizable by the shape of the country. One of these cases is always Italy, because everybody knows how Italy looks like a boot. Yeah, so everybody can draw a boot as Italy. But second one is a country of residence. For example, in Moldova, I will show you, in Poland, because of weather maps, because of logotypes, everybody in Poland knows that there is a bay in the north, in the Baltic Sea, and there is kind of the peninsula, Hel Peninsula, like here. It's a very small piece of land, but in our perception of Poles, more than 50% of respondents draw this very small piece of land, because it's like a symbol of our shape. It's like Florida in USA, for example, yeah, like in Gagauzia in Moldova, yeah. I have Gagauzia, yeah. Look at this. So Moldavian usually draw Moldova with Gagauzia, and I don't know how do you call this piece of land. But only Moldovians know this shape, of course. Others perceive the shape of the country in very limited way, as circles, as squares, etc. For example, respondents from Portugal, almost everybody draw this piece of land close to Lisbon, because there is an estuarium of Tar River, yeah. So everybody can recognize this. And for example, respondents from Switzerland recognize the canton of Genève here, and the canton of Ticino here. But for the rest of us, it's just a piece of land with irregular shape. What is important for me I focus on the difference between East and West. So look at the last verse of this. Percentage of countries from Eastern Europe. When we count of number of countries in Europe, it's like half and half, around 25 in the West, around 25 on the East. It depends how to treat, like Kosovo, yeah, also Transnistria, etc. But look at this. Even respondents from East part of Europe, you know, like from Balti, like from Krakow, like from Niš, draw much more often countries from the West than countries from the East. So even on the maps of respondents from eastern part of Europe, they focus on the West, and they draw countries from the West, and can't recognize countries from East. When you look on the case of Porto, look at this. On the average 10 draw countries, and just 10%, so it was just 1 country on the East. It was usually Russia, sometimes Poland, yeah? So in their perception, East Europe doesn't exist, actually. Another phrase, quite popular Polish writer, Andrzej Stasiuk, in his book, My Europe, He wrote, map of Europe resembles a plate of failed course. German cutlets, a lot of Russian potatoes, French lettuce, Italian asparagus, Spanish dessert, and British compote on the chassis. Here and there, all equally messy by some spots of sauces. Hungarian sauce, gravy, Czech, Romanian fried egg, Swedish, Norwegian herring with cod as appetizer, mustard of Benelux, Polish spinach, nibbled and crumbled Greek slice. In a word, fine paste. Sorry, it's not Moldova. In his quotas, but look at this, that he is also not geographer, but the main part of the dish are, of course, our West countries, yeah, German cutlet, like a very solid piece of meat, yeah, Russian potatoes, yeah, it should be also like a quick shot after, yeah, French lettuce, Italian asparagus, but there's no space for east part of Europe, yeah. There is Poland, yeah, Polish spinach, the Romanian fried egg. So he also focused perception on the West. So he found that the West part of Europe creates like Europe. Yeah. So in effect of my research, I found that our perception have two centrisms. One is West centrism, based on opposite to Occidentalism, yeah. So look at this. It's an example of West-centric point of view from one respondent from Baltic, probably a Russian-speaking respondent from Baltic, yeah. Because look at this. There's a Moldova, yeah. There's a Black Sea. There's no Romania. For me, it was quite strange, yeah. So probably Russian-speaking, yeah. But there's Ukraine. There's Crimea. It wasn't so obvious, yeah, because there's Russia. But look at this, in center part of Europe, there's nothing. There's Poland, because I'm from Poland. So sometimes it makes a difference for the perception. They wanted to try to draw Poland. But look at this, we have many countries from the West, far away, located far away from Moldova, like Germany, France, England, even Ireland, which is a small country, yeah. Or Denmark, or countries from the north. So of course it's based on the experience, especially not their experience, but the experience of their parents, yeah, like a labor force, etc. But mainly about influence of the West, yeah, West European products, West European culture, West European movies. Even in the books, you also focus on West Europe, yeah. But look at this, no Balkan states, yeah, no former Soviet countries, just Ukraine and Moldova. And another type of centrism is a spatial egocentrism. I mean, we focus mainly on our country and our neighborhood. So usually on the map, this example of respondents from Switzerland, so look at this, the Switzerland is in the center of the map because it's the most important for us. We start to draw and to think about space from our place of residence. Yeah? Around Switzerland, we have oversized Germany, France, Italy, and Austria, the neighborhood countries. Of course, there's also no place for east part of Europe, just Czech Republic, somewhere there. But there is Spain, there is Portugal, there is Holland, etc. So I was asking about experience of the European countries by my respondents. So you can imagine that nobody from Switzerland was on the east, especially in post-Soviet countries. Yeah. So this pillar doesn't exist. Yeah. In Swiss books, there's also lack of knowledge about east. So how to make decisions? How to make changes on the perception when we have lack of information? We're open just for attitudes, for propaganda, somehow, etc. So it reminds me the old maps of the world. For example, this is a map from Hereford from 13th century. So you can see the world was located around the Jerusalem. Yeah, Jerusalem, cartographers from the medieval ages used to draw Jerusalem is the center of the world because it was the most important place of the world, and around there is the rest of the world. In the same way, Muslim cartographers used Mecca as the center of the world. When you look nowadays on the maps, of course, we have China. The world maps of China are totally different than our European. Yeah, we put Europe in the center. Look at this. Yeah, but Chinese people put China at the center. So it's why Pacific Ocean is more important for them than Atlantic. Even USA. In USA, schoolboys and schoolgirls have a USA in the center. So on the left they have Pacific Ocean, on the right have Atlantic Ocean. So it plays an important role because from our perspective, we treat Atlantic as a Europe and transatlantic relations, USA, Europe as the most important. But when you change just, when you just turn the globe around, you can see that from American perspective, it looks completely different. They put main attention to the Pacific Ocean at the moment. Yeah, the main enemy is the China, not Russia as well. Anyway, yeah. Maps play important role for our perception, even maps of the world. Yeah. Maybe one interesting case from the past. Actually, in 50s, Seversky showed to the congressmen of USA that from Soviet Union it's much closer to USA than they used to think, because they showed them the map of the world with a North Pole in the center, and he explained that the Soviet missiles can hit Canada and Alaska as well. So they decided to put the systems of defense in Alaska, in North Alaska and North Canada, because of this map. Yeah? So when we see on the frequency of the map of the countries of the map, so you can see what I mentioned before, that we have usually representation of West countries and Russia, because Russia is well recognizable for sure. Yeah, but look at this. Then almost in every case we have a white spot, especially in Balkan states. Nobody can recognize. Just people from Niš, from Serbia, can recognize these countries and draw those countries in the maps. Yeah. Of course, because of lack importance of these countries, because small size of these countries, and because a lot of changes for last decades, there are no knowledge about this region. Joseph Krutfor. Nowadays, Central Europe is probably the concept understandable only by meteorologists. I also asked about Central Europe because I wanted to compare how Central Europe is perceived. Because the scientists are not sure how to treat Central Europe. Yeah, you can find the very different maps about Central Europe from the past. So somehow it's limited just to the former Czechoslovakia. In the Germany, there's a concept of Middle Europa based on Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So they treat Central Europe as those countries. We in Poland treat Central Europe as Poland. Yeah, we are central. Even in last election, our leading party used this quota. Poland as a half of Europe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like in the center, maybe a bit on the left, but should be on the right. Of course, there were many jokes because where is Hungary if we are in the heart, yeah, somewhere down there, yeah. Never mind, it was quite funny, but everybody would like to be in the center, yeah, in the heart. So look at this. Another quite important result of this, that everybody stretched the center to the place of living. So I asked about Central Europe, as well as about countries from Central Europe. So look at this. For example, respondents from Porto. They treat France or Italy as a center of Europe. People from Moldova, Party, look at this here. They treat Romania as a center of Europe. Of course, there are many they shown also they picked also Germany, but many of them treat Romania. So we have the tendency to stretch the central. Nobody would like to live in periphery. When I was in Portuguese school, it was quite funny because the map of Europe were completely different. In the center was Atlantic Ocean because they have Azores Islands, yeah, and Madeira. So in the center of the map was Azores, the Central Atlantic, yeah. So Europe was on the right side. But if you ask about Central Europe, even people from Porto, somehow some of them picked like Spain and Portugal. Nobody want to be in the periphery. They also just put a point in the center of Europe. So it's not a good scale here, but in every case, this point is an average point for center of Europe by Moldovan. Yeah, so it's much more on the east than in case of people from Porto. This one. Yeah? So even if we look on the map, we treat that map, the real map, in completely different way. And another important, quite old but important quota sentence, Marquis de Custan from 1836. His famous book, Letters de Russie, sorry, I don't know French. Between France and Russia stands wall of China, Slavic language and Slavic character. In spite of the pretensions of the Russians, vaccinated by Peter the Great, Siberia begins from Vistula. Vistula is a river in Poland, yeah? And so we feel it sometimes in Poland that the Vistula is like a real cultural border between East and West. So actually Poland is like a borderline country. In many tasks. So look at this. I asked them to draw a line between East and West. Actually, with Dr. Struś, we did the research again 10 years later because I wanted to compare how the European Union changed our perception of the border between East and West. My idea was that after 10-15 years in European Union, incorporated country should be more on the west than east, according to respondents. But it doesn't work. Actually, it's a very stable border between east and west, and it's the same like Iron Curtain from 1945, almost in every case. So you can see sometimes Poland, Slovakia, or Hungary are treated as a West, but for not so many respondents. But sometimes the East is a general map here. So the border, look at this. The most visible border is between Finland and Russia. Yeah. So they have no problem to draw a line between Finland and Russia as line between East and West. But they have a problem with Central European countries and between Balkan countries. Austria is also very visible here. So it still exists in our minds. Sorry. It's another very interesting, I think also for you, results of my research. Actually, I compared the sizes of draw countries by respondents. So let's compare a real situation with perception. In reality, Ukraine compared to Poland and Germany is the biggest, even without Crimea Peninsula and Donetsk region. Yeah. Because it's like 500,000 square kilometers. Poland has 300,000, Germany has 380. So look at this. According to respondents from Krakow, because it's from Krakow, Poland is bigger than Germany and Ukraine. 39% of respondents draw the big Poland, and smaller Germany and small Ukraine. 32% draw the biggest was Germany, Poland was smaller, and Ukraine is the smallest. But the truth is here, yeah, just 1 on 8 respondents from Krakow draw in the right sizes, that Ukraine and Germany is bigger than Poland. So we have two centrisms I mentioned before. So West centrism, Germany is the biggest, and egocentrism, that Poland is the biggest. And try to think how to cooperate. We have sometimes such a quote as Poland is big. Poland should be treated as a much more important country than is because we are the power. Yeah, in our minds, not because of reality. Even Dorian used to say that Poland, you are from big country. Poland is very important, etc. I don't agree with Dorian in this case. Yeah. It's going to be interesting also for you, the case of Danube. I had idea that the Danube, it's not my idea. The Danube is a pan-European river, yeah, like connection between East and West. I was very naive because of this, because look at this. I asked about the course of Danube River. So look at this. For respondents from Serbia, from Niš is not on the Danube River. Belgrade is on the Danube River. But look at this, they know perfect course of the river. Danube for them is like a window to the world. Very important connection between East and West. Look at the respondents from Balti. Where are Balti? Where's Balti? Here. Yeah. Here, yeah. So you exactly know, especially the Danube from the ending, yeah, and because of it's a border river between Romania and Bulgaria, so you know it quite perfectly, yeah. But when you ask people from Ireland where is Danube, so look at this, they usually draw Danube in the Germany, because Danube is well known, so should be in Germany, mainly in Germany. Look at this. According to them, Danube goes into a North Sea, not a Black Sea, because it's in Germany. As well as in case of Porto, look at this. It also must be in Germany, maybe also somewhere here, but mainly in Germany. So, or Uppsala. They draw also Danube in France or Germany. Nobody cares about East. So this concept, quite popular in such a country like Bulgaria, Serbia, Romania, as well as Slovakia, for example, Hungary, to make Danube the pan-European river, it doesn't work in general opinion and general thinking about this. We have to rechange our thinking about the importance of the river for cooperation. I have more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very interesting, I think.
Another important thing, we have the tendency, I mean, reality is much more complex than our thinking about space. So we usually underestimate the small countries and, overestimate the small countries and underestimate the big countries. So in our opinion, the world is much flatter than real is. So if you think about, for example, a difference in size between Luxembourg and Germany, for our mind is too difficult to find differences, because differences are very, very, very high. Yeah. So in our mind, Luxembourg seems to be much bigger than it is compared to other countries, and Germany, maybe not Germany, but big countries from the north, from the Scandinavia, yeah, are much smaller. So look at this, such a countries like, sorry, it's in Polish, like the Netherlands, Luxembourg, we have the red colors, what means that are overestimated. So for people seems to be bigger than they are. Also Slovenia. Look at this, look at the size of those countries, they are quite small. But big countries, especially from the north, like Norway, yeah, but also Romania, usually seems to be much lower. Because in our minds, as I mentioned, the world is flatter. It's the same like average population of countries. So look at this. Small population countries like Luxembourg, Norway, or Slovenia seems to be much bigger because of population, and big ones like Holland, 15 million people on small territory, Germany or Italy seems to be lower. So everything is flatter in our minds. It's the same like with distances. Yeah? there are distances. I compare distances between Berlin and Moscow in every case, and also between place of residence and capital of the country, and place of residence to Paris. So look at this. The short distances between the capital and the place of residence, we can case of Balti here, yeah. So look at this, Balti to Chisinau, in every case between place of residence and capital, and the distances should seems to be much longer than there is, and long distances much shorter. How to explain it? Because distance, road we go through, it's full of value. For example, when you go from Balti to Chisinau, the area around you is full of memories. And this piece of information, piece of experience, make the distance longer than it is. When you just go to the plane and go to the Paris, these long distances without any values. And because of time as well, yeah, it's a short time. So values makes, in our perception, distances longer or shorter. You can make a test, for example, go to the home from by completely different way. So you will see that new buildings, new, maybe you know Chisinau, of course, but new buildings have additional value for you. Yeah. It was also for me extremely interesting, because I didn't know how to explain it, but I asked about preferences of living. So you can see that for everybody in Europe, they prefer, if they have a choice, to live in such a country like Great Britain, England, France, Italy, etc. There is a line between positive and negative attitudes. So on the other scale of the map, we have countries from the East. What means there is not even one country from the East which has more positive than negative values as a preference of place of living. Not even one case. But look at this. Yeah, we have Bulgaria, Romania, Russia, etc. But there's one strange case, Germany, as D, yeah, as like Deutschland. So look at this. They have very negative values. It looks like nobody would like to live in Germany, but in the end, everybody goes there for work and for living. Yeah, it's quite strange, because it's one of the biggest migrant country in Europe, and nobody in whole Europe treats Germany as a leading country for living, and generally they don't like to live there. It's quite interesting. Yeah, even Moldovians. Yeah, Moldova is it's just in the middle. Yeah, positive here. Yeah, positive and negative values are similar. Yeah. After 10 years after crisis, I compared the perception nowadays, and it doesn't change. I mean, Spain and Italy goes down, because crisis made troubles in those countries, but Germany goes up. So those countries which economy is very stable won the situation. Yeah. So I also asked about identity, person who are as well as building important for Europe. And actually, the result is not so nice. When I think about war now, I can understand a bit more why some people do bad things. Yeah, because when we look at the 20th century Europe, I asked about most important European figures 20th century. So look at this: Hitler and Stalin are the leading. Of course, when I watch a TV, especially document channels, almost everything is about Second World War. Yeah, so it's very important. Yeah, our common experience. Yeah, but look at this: Hitler is a symbol of 20th century. Stalin is second, yeah. Churchill, yeah, is third. And John Paul II is fourth, but just in Catholic countries, especially in Krakow, yeah, we have almost 50%. Catholics from Porto, 15%, but Catholics from Ireland, 7%. But no other care about John Paul II, our hero. Yeah. Of course, look at this. We have kind of egocentrism here. So Serbian used to say that Tesla is the more important. Look at this, 32%, but nobody care about it. Swedish Hammarskjöld, he was prime minister as well as responsible for I don't remember. Never mind. So we can find spatial egocentrism, but look at this: that there's nobody who creates European Union. Actually, it was important conclusions from our research that European Union as a organization with values has not important role in our common thinking. And the buildings, maybe it's not important, but of course, Eiffel Tower is a symbol of Europe. Look at this, average 82% of respondents point that it's like a symbol of Europe. Okay, so almost the end, look at the spatial activity. It's one of the pillars of our perception. So look at this, generally ask respondents about the activity. So people from Krakow goes just to the west and to the south. Just very few were in Ukraine. The people from Moldova, of course, are limited activity just to neighbor countries and Russia. Look at this, Portuguese people just go to Spain mainly. So we have temporary migrations, especially holiday migrations to the south, and generally links between countries on the west. It's why the west recognize west, east recognize west. Nobody recognize east, even east not recognize east. And context of the textbooks, because I also analyzed the textbooks from the countries, from those 7 countries. It's not as a photo from the textbooks, but general opinion, general stereotype about Poland. We fight with this for the last 30 years, that Poland is a polluted country, and they show Poland mainly because of pollution. So look at this, very quick. We have those 6 countries because I didn't do it in Portugal. So it means the percentage of materials from the country of residence. I mean, in Polish books, 80% of graphic materials are about Poland. In Moldova, it was 82%. In Ireland, it was 70%. But in Switzerland, it was just 20%. So 80% was about other countries. Yeah. So it's why it's play important role for more and more egocentrism. As I mentioned in the beginning, if we don't teach the students about the world, who do this? Media, social media? It's not good way, I guess. And importance of media. So maybe it's not as important as this one. So look at this. I analyzed Moldova Suverena, Politica from Serbia, Gazeta Wyborcza from Poland, and titles from the West. So actually we have West and East. Information about West, information about East. Of course, I excluded information from country of the newspaper, yeah? So I didn't count information about Moldova in Moldova Suverena. Yeah? So look at this, that media's newspapers from East mainly write about East, especially about neighborhood countries, and actually newspapers from West mainly write about West. So another example of kind of egocentrism. Yeah. So what to remember? That there is a correlation between education, media, experiences, and perception of the world. Those four pillars play an important role. Egocentrism and Westcentrism create our perception of the world. Still bipolar European people's minds. So iron curtain still exists in our minds. Even 18 years after enlarging of European Union by 10 countries in the East. Integration of European doesn't influence on perception and stereotypization of our view of space. Yeah, we are full of stereotypes. So in the end, the quota from Winston Churchill, from state in the Baltic to Thrace in Adriatic, Iron Curtain has descended across the continent. So it still exists somehow. Yeah. Okay, thank you. If you have any question, I can, of course, answer your questions.
Yes, thank you very much for Professor Pablo. Dacă sunt întrebări din sală sau de la participanții online, cred că a fost foarte detaliat și este o întrebare, da?
Nu e o întrebare.
Aha. Da, este
interesant de mai citit.
Da, va fi materialul stocat, deci și pe platformele online, încât sigur că poate fi revăzut și cred că la fel este un model, da, de cercetare, un exemplu de a realiza, care poate fi realizat în orice regiune și important asta, exemplu și metodologia care se folosește.
Da, și aici ar fi de făcut o diferență între persoanele cu diferit nivel de instruire. Una se face cei care au clasă primară, dar și alta se face cei care au studii superioare și domnule.
So there are differences here to take in consideration in the educational level, like it's one it's to investigate the school students, and the other one is to investigate the university students or the old people. Like can be differences as well to get.
Actually, I did the research in the same way in every city. I mean, I chose the students from secondary schools from the pre-last year because some of them pass geography on the exam. So I wanted to avoid this situation. So in every case, it was pre-last year because we have different systems of education in different countries. So pre-last year in the schools who give opportunity to go to university. So I didn't mix technical schools and general schools. It was just general schools because I wanted to avoid situation that something don't have geography in school or have a lot of geography in school or history or wherever. Yeah. So I just compared general education levels from the same age, but sometimes there are differences because, for example, not everywhere the education system has 12 years between universities. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 13. Yeah, it's why I choose every time the pre-last year. So in Poland it was third class of secondary school. I don't remember how was it in Moldova, but it was. I also mixed the Russian and Moldovan schools in Baltic because some of them are Russian, some Moldavian. Yeah, so I had two. Of course, it was in national languages. So I had a survey in Romanian and Russian as well. Yeah. Because I wanted from them to feel comfortably in language. Yeah. Because of course English is not very common. So in every country I used national languages. Yeah. I choose the cities on the similar way. I mean, I focus on the cities. Multifunctional cities because I would like avoid situation that industrial city has a special society. Yeah, or tourist city, etc. So in every case, it was multifunctional city, as well as I decided to choose cities which are not capital, just Bern were capital, but in Switzerland, in the fact, Zurich has a more important role and is treated more like a capital than Bern, yeah. Because I wanted to avoid situation that people from the capital are more open-minded because of metropolization, etc. And I chose also cities which are not so far or so close to the capital because of influence of capital. Yeah, and not so big. So it was like 1 to 300,000 inhabitants in those cities. Only Krakow is bigger. Yeah, but it's my own city, so I wanted to use. And there is a problem with Porto because Porto in agglomeration has more than 1 million, but yeah, you know, when we compare cities, it's quite difficult because there are different kinds of limitation of city.
Da, mulțumim foarte mult, domnule profesor Padlo. Și
Yes. No more question, yeah? Okay.
Da, mai avem în program.
Excuse me, I had a question to Mr. Thomas.
There is a question still to Mr. Thomas. Yeah, please. From Shimon, yeah?
Thank you, Thomas, for very interesting presentation. My question to you is, what is the perception of eastern border of Europe? I'm asking this, despite I am a geographer, I tend to believe that even I would have a problem with that. What is the what is Europe? Is it geographic placement only, or is it believing in European values, appreciating them? Like, for example, Cyprus, which is geographically in Asia, but no Cypriot believe that they are in Asia. What about Russia? They are not okay with the European values. What about other countries which are on the borderland, like Georgia, Turkey, Armenia? Do people from Western Europe or even from all over the Europe believe that they are European or not? I'm asking you those questions because actually I'm reading a book about Georgia, and one of the character bought a map on the airport in Warsaw just to spend last money, and he bought two maps. And on one of the map, Europe ended on Ukraine, and on the other one, Europe ended on Romania and Bulgaria. The character threw all those maps to rubbish. What if you would ask Georgian if they are European? Because as we know, a few days ago, they are invited to be a membership of European Union. The same as Moldova and Ukraine. What do you think about it?
I think that International Geographical Union made a big mistake to create the border between Europe and Asia only in a physical way, because generally people used to treat this border also as a cultural border between Europe and Asia. Treating Ural Mountains or Caucasus, even not Caucasus Mountains, but Kura River as a border in cultural point of view is a totally misunderstanding. Yeah, but people do this because they can find on the map that the border is along Ural River, etc., and Bosphorus Strait. Yeah. How to compare Istanbul, east and west parts? Should she treat east part of Istanbul as Asia and west part of the Istanbul of Europe? It's misunderstanding. So I think that, for example, UEFA organization, football organization, show Europe in better way than we in general. In cultural way, there are also some misunderstandings because, for example, yesterday we've been in Transnistria, so there are some info on the Rabota w Europie. Rabota w Europie. So it looks like Transnistria is not part of Europe. Rabota w Europie, what means in Czech Republic, Poland, Germany. But what about Transnistria? What about Moldova? But in this kind of thinking, Europe is like something in the West. But of course, in a cultural point of view, there are also kind of discussions about it. For some of us, Europe finished in Vladivostok. So even Asian part of Russia belongs to Europe because of Christianity, for example. In this case, also countries from the south part of Caucasus, like Georgia or Armenia. But what to do with Azerbaijan? Because we used to treat all of those three countries as a common countries, Caucasian republics. What to do with Turkey? Should we treat the border between Turkey and Bulgaria as a border between Europe because of religion? So what to do with Bosnia and Herzegovina or Albania? It's not easy to answer this question, but for me, it's not. We can't point obligatory where is the border, because, for example, what is happening now in Ukraine is also the answer about this kind of question. So it's not stable. So the construct of Europe is based on values, but how to compare values of from Scandinavian countries with values of non-Scandinavian countries, for example? You know what I mean, there are many questions about it.
Yeah, I tend to believe that it is very difficult to draw a straight line of Eastern Europe, of eastern border of Europe, and as difficult is drawing a line between Central, Western, and Eastern Europe. As an example, in one of the British cities, there was an announcement on the street. This showed the perception of British about Polish and European countries. The note was, "Our guests from Eastern Europe are kindly requested not to throw the rubbish away on the street." And Polish, where there are more than 1 million Poles in British Isles, didn't obey it because they thought this is to guests from Eastern Europe, and they are from Central Europe. So they thought this is for Ukrainian, Belarusian, or others, but not to them. So this shows us how we perceive parts of Europe, and actually we don't know the borders between West, Central, and East part of the continent.
But can I?
Yep.
Interrupt you? The mistake we make is that we treat a border as a line. But if we change dimension, even physical geography has different kind of borders, not only lines, sometimes like a belt, for example. But when we talk about cultural issues, we have to change dimensions. For example, I can imagine that some groups of people, of minorities in Iran or Syria can be more European than some societies in Europe. Yeah. So when we talk about borders of Europe, we have to completely change dimensions, not using Euclides dimensions, but totally different, you know?
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So it's more like about attitudes than about physical line on the map. And values, as you said. Yeah. Are you okay, Mr. Szymon?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, if you don't have any question.
Dacă mai sunt alte întrebări către Tomaș. Cred că a fost destul de complexă prezentarea și de diversă.
Thank you.
Da, mulțumim mult și știm că timpul este deja avansat, de asta mai avem încă 2 prezentări, dar o să încercăm să fie cât se poate de scurte, ca să nu obosim pentru acest seminar destul de complex, eu cred că și cu multe materiale interesante care vor prinde bine și în viitor de analizat. Am eu o prezentare așa care este destul de mare, dar voi face doar succint o trecere în revistă a acestei tematici. Vorba despre atlasele în cercetările geografice regionale, Atlases in Regional Geographical Research. Sigur că este un aspect foarte important legat de, în general, cercetările geografice sunt conectate de reprezentarea spațială a oricărui fenomen. Astfel, o scurtă introducere, atlas din mitologia greacă, de la un titan, deci o zeietate care era suportat, deci bolta cerească, a devenit un generic pentru o colecție de hărți, diagrame și alte materiale organizate după diverse criterii. Astfel putem face diverse clasificări ale atlaselor, sigur că după areal, care pot fi deci la nivel atlase la nivel mondial, atlase apoi naționale, care se referă la un stat particular. Asta este destul de căpătat dezvoltare începând cu secolul XIX și, în fine, deci diverse atlase regionale, care la fel putem să le mai divizăm după conținut în atlase generale și atlase tematice. Sigur că o să mă refer de data aceasta doar la atlasele regionale, care sunt deci, niște atlase complexe, dar pot fi și atlase tematice asupra anumitor aspecte, dar se referă cu siguranță la o regiune. Regiuni care pot fi definite după diverse criterii, desigur, că cel mai răspândit fiind criteriul teritorial administrativ. Și voi da doar câteva exemple din străinătate și, în fine, din Republica Moldova. Dacă să ne referim, această dezvoltare a atlaselor regionale a căpătat așa o extindere destul de mare, începând cu a doua jumătate a secolului 20. Astfel, aici sunt câteva exemple, de exemplu, din Catalonia, o regiune autonomă a Spaniei, care are o gamă foarte largă de atlase regionale, atât generale cât și destul de tematice, și chiar s-a mers mai departe, nu numai la nivelul regiunii, dar și la nivel de orașe, de comune și de localități chiar. Deci am identificat, cercetând în mod concret cazul Cataloniei și sigur că este și legat aici cumva și de dorința de emancipare regională a acestei regiuni, care știm bine că este destul de evidențiată în cadrul Spaniei. Dar o tradiție destul de bogată în dezvoltarea atlaselor regionale a avut și Uniunea Sovietică, școala sovietică geografică, sigur că fiind un spațiu atât de mare, divers, enorm, plin cu diverse formațiuni teritoriale administrative la nivel autonom și au fost create, deci, sistematic atlase ale diverselor părți, republici unionale, care acum, sigur că deja transformat la nivel de atlase naționale, fiind toate la nivel de state independente, dar există republicile autonome, regiuni autonome, regiuni și așa mai departe, deci din cadrul mai ales a Federației Rusiei, care au dezvoltat o tradiție și continuă aceasta, deci prin aici câteva care le-am cercetat eu în mod special, Comi, Republica Comi, de exemplu, până în prezent, deci are mai multe ediții ale atlaselor acestei republici, inclusiv chiar și atlase tematice, atlas Poci, de exemplu, da, atlas pedologic a Republicii Comi sau altele cu tentă, deci turistică și așa mai departe. La fel și pentru alte regiuni. Una dintre cele mai bune exemple care le-am găsit țin de Republica Saha, Iacutia, care are atlase la nivel de raioane. La ei se numesc ULUS. Deci aproape cam toate raioanele au ajuns să aibă atlase complexe folosite atât în sistemul educațional cât și pentru cercetare și aici este o listă, nu o să vin cu exemple, am aparte fiecare atlas, chiar așa, dar nu este timp de data aceasta, ci este regiuni. Vreau să un pic câteva cuvinte doar despre Moldova și regiunea noastră. Regiunile sigur că sunt și ele flexibile, dinamice în perioadă, în context istoric, încât dacă ne gândim la spațiul nostru a Moldovei, da, putem găsi așa o regionare, de exemplu, de la sfârșitul secolului XVIII, da, și atunci era cazul să facem atlase pe ținuturi ale Moldovei. Mai târziu, sigur că Moldova divizată, deci cu partea care acum este Mare Republica Moldova, deci cunoscută ca Basarabia sau sudul Basarabiei, da, cu unitățile la fel administrative din acea perioadă, deja secolul XIX. La fiecare, dacă era cazul atunci, puteau fi făcute niște atlase, sigur că și pe aceste regiuni. Urmând o altă divizare administrativă din perioada României interbelice, unde era cazul de atlase la nivel de județe, fapt care s-a înfăptuit în România doar pentru unele, deci nu este un lucru sistematic așa care să fie înfăptuit. Moldova sovietică fiind destul de mic însăși ca republică, să zicem așa, sigur că nu a dezvoltat o școală sau tradiție de a crea vreun atlas regional în cadrul Republicii Moldova, mă refer la nivel de raioane, mai ales că astea au fost și ele destul de instabile. Apropo, deci, la fel pentru regiunea Leningrad, acolo tot încă din anii 80 au apărut atlas la nivel de raioane, ceea ce tot este destul de interesant. Asta înseamnă o detaliere mult mai mare. Dar ce am reușit să înfăptuim și prin contribuția mea personală, deci cumva am aceste studii regionale fiind destul de importante pentru că descoperim lucruri care nu sunt cunoscute, nu pot fi preluate din altă parte. Aici am lucrat la crearea primului atlas așa la nivel regional, am în vedere complex în cadrul Republicii Moldova, fiind vorba despre atlasul Gagauziei, unității teritorial deci administrative, Gagauzia, Gagauz-Eri. Și observați, dacă ne uităm chiar și acum pe Google, o să găsim în mare parte imagini eronate ale ceea ce s-a menționat și anterior, deci de percepție, dar nu numai percepție, aici chiar e reprezentarea pe diferite resurse oficiale, da, de Wikipedia, de asta și Gagauzia apare destul de neconform cu realitățile care sunt, asta însemnând că nu este o cunoaștere și chiar la nivelul specialiștilor, nu vorbim de publicul larg, fiind o unitate teritorială autonomă, da, destul de nouă, în cadrul Republicii Moldova, un teritoriu mic, dar cred că e important să cunoaștem real cum este. O singură hartă oficială a fost publicată până acum a Găgăuziei în anul 2000, care nici ea nu prea mult clarifică situația. De asta am constituit un colectiv așa internațional din specialiști consacrați din mai multe țări și am mers cu reprezentarea acestei unități teritoriale a Republicii Moldova la nivelul unui atlas regional, care pleacă, sigur că după un model clasic, consultând cam foarte multe exemple, atât din școala cartografică sovietică a tradițiilor care există, cât și din diversele state europene și neeuropene, cum ar fi și Statele Unite, unele state din Asia, Australia, Noua Zeelandă, care la fel au realizat atlase regionale. Astfel, o să trec în revistă doar ca să nu folosim prea mult timpul și sigur că se merită o discuție pentru la fiecare, eu cred că temă putea fi un seminar aparte cu fiecare din acestea noastre, dar încercăm să cuprindem cât mai multe idei diverse. Aici, sigur că e important, deci ce putem afla prin un atlas regional? Putem avea o deschidere, adică și o cunoaștere absolută a întregii regiuni, mult mai ilustrativ și mai succint decât ar fi o enciclopedie sau multe alte publicații care ar necesita. Deci harta, asta e avantajul ei, că ne poate prezenta lucrurile foarte clar, succint și totodată memorabil, deci prin imaginele care se pleacă de la, primul rând, ce este această regiune din punct de vedere administrativ, pentru că ne referim la o regiune administrativă, sigur că pot fi atlase regionale și în baza categoriilor fizico-geografice, în baza unor unități fizico-geografice, la fel poate fi. Și Găgăuzia, deci, este reprezentată aici atât prin partea cărților politico-administrative, cât și, sigur că e foarte importantă, partea fizico-geografică, deci tot ce ține de substratul natural și clasic, deci relieful, hidrografia, imagine satelitară, care să ne prezinte la fel, deci cum este peisajul, landșaftul regiunii și aspectele de geologie, de resurse minerale utile, care pot fi utilizate, deci nu numai pentru cititori pur și simplu, dar și cu scop practic, dar pentru investitori și așa mai departe. Aspectele climatice, solurile, care la fel știm că au o aplicație largă în domeniul agricol, de exemplu, hărțile biogeografice sunt indispensabile, vegetația și fauna, și la acest nivel vedeți că sunt foarte detaliate, deci nu o să găsim nici la un alt atlas la nivelul Republicii Moldova atât de detaliat, pentru că fiecare sigur că are o anumită capacitate limitată de a reprezenta fenomenele în spațiu. Apoi, deci, evaluarea stării ecologice, da? Un alt aspect care a fost abordat și poate fi abordat în orice nivel, la orice nivel, inclusiv aici chiar și la nivel și mai detaliat poate fi, da? În cadrul chiar unor comune sau unități detaliate. Apoi, populația, aspectele demografice, la fel este un bloc întreg de hărți, da, care țin atât de dinamica populației, da, de structura pe grupe de vârstă, structura etnică, lingvistică și unde permit datele, sigur că și altele, confesională sau de alt gen. Migrația și bilanțul natural al populației, care aici este detaliat la nivel de localități, după cum se vede, și prezintă un instrument, eu cred că clar, de lucru și de a cunoaște în mod detaliat acest teritoriu, cum ar fi în cazul dat Găgăuziei. Apoi, cărțile cu importanță, deci, domeniul geografiei economice și a utilizării terenurilor, da? Începe cu utilizarea terenurilor în general, apoi divizat pe aspectele, deci, agricole, un set de hărți pe domeniul geografiei agriculturii, cu principale culturi și distribuția lor și evoluția, zootehnia, la fel, care e deci reprezentată la nivel de comuni de data aceasta, cu fiecare categorie reprezentative. Și alte hărți din domeniul economic, da, urmând cu cele a industriei, de exemplu, da, și potențialul industrial la nivel de fiecare localitate. Ocuparea forței de muncă, relațiile inclusiv comerțul exterior, da, unde se poate de urmărit cum se poziționează Găgăuzia în raport cu diversi parteneri, da, economici străini, apoi infrastructura transporturilor și mijloacele de transport, care sunt bine detaliate și reprezentate, educația și aspectele educaționale la toate nivelele au fost luate în considerație, la fel și în dinamică, pe cât este posibil, o hartă complexă asupra ocrotirii sănătății și a unităților medicale, care, iarăși, deci este într-un fel în premieră modelul pe care l-am elaborat, consultând mai multe exemple, dar nu aveam un exemplu atât de detaliat sau de complex pe care să-l facem. O hartă privind aspectele de geografie culturală, da, instituțiilor culturale, care la fel deseori nu apar sau apar deci așa la un nivel foarte general. Am lucrat la o detaliere destul de mare a lor și chiar o hartă muzeilor, care iarăși model clar nu am găsit, dar l-am elaborat și cred că este de utilitate, inclusiv pentru, de exemplu, o altă hartă este lăcașilor de cult, la nivelul fiecărei localități. Aici deja este vorba nu numai de bază de date, dar de cercetare detaliată la nivelul fiecărei localități și consultarea și adunarea, verificarea acestei informații și date. Ele sunt, sigur că nu apar nici în datele statistice, dar pot fi reprezentate dacă se face o cercetare. Infrastructura sportivă, care la fel deci a fost luat în calcul și, în fine, toate acestea dau o relevanță pentru o hartă turistică, o hartă turistică complexă, apropo, care a fost solicitată chiar de autoritățile autonomiei Găgăuziei și cu aportul Uniunii Europene și a Suediei în particular, a fost publicată separat, deci ca o hartă acum, deci anul trecut, sau și există o hartă turistică separată, de utilitate, sigur că largă pentru public și de bine de ajuns și la nivelul de hărți deja urbane, da, diferitelor orașe, în special e vorba de localitățile reprezentative, capitală de obicei și altele care la fel pot include o serie de informații și date relevante în cadrul lor. Ce ar fi de constatat aici? Sigur că vreau să, la fiecare hartă se putea de discutat foarte mult asupra metodologiei, importanței, relevanței acestor hărți și inclusiv aspectele de cartografiere și de colectarea datelor, dar important este de înțeles că atlasele, ca o colecție de hărți complexă, așa, deci sunt un rezultat al unor cercetări foarte minuțioase și detaliate și totodată reprezintă o sursă pentru cercetările de viitor. Unii deci ar considera că da, sigur că toate se învechesc, datele, multe lucruri, mai puțin partea cadrul natural, sigur, care este mai stabil, celelalte socio-umane, dar asta nu diminuează importanța oricărui atlas sau hărți, pentru că avem o altă știință, inclusiv istoria, care se ocupă de tot și din domeniul trecutului. Și atunci când se dorește să cunoaștem, acum știm foarte bine, sunt colecții foarte valoroase de hărți, de atlase, da, care cu atât mai mult, dacă e din secolul XIX, ele sunt surse de inspirație, de verificare a informațiilor, da, și de asta este foarte important, cred că să contribuim ca geografi, în special la acest aspect și dorința ar fi chiar pentru Republica Moldova, de ce nu să se continue să fie acoperit întreg teritoriul cu niște atlase din astea regionale, fie că la nivelul de raioane sau la nivelul unor unități poate mai majore, cum ar fi regiunile de dezvoltare, dar ele prezintă utilitate și diferența lor față de atlasele naționale sau, nu mai zic cele generale, școlare și așa mai departe, este că sunt o sursă mult mai detaliată și concretă de informații și date care pot fi cercetate, valorificate, deci oricând în viitor. Vreau să mai fac la încheiere prezentarea încă unui atlas apărut, deci acum recent, în anul 2020. Este un atlas regional tematic de data aceasta, deci un atlas regional tematic regimului termic și pluviometric din sudul Republicii Moldova, dar se are în vedere raionul Cahul și chiar la nivelul comunii Zărnești, elaborat de regretata academiciană Maria Nedealcov și la fel Institutul de Ecologie și Geografie. Deci s-a mers și sper să se meargă și în continuare pe această direcție de cercetări regionale care ideal ar fi să se finalizeze și prin aceste forme de atlase regionale. Vă mulțumim foarte mult pentru atenție. Dacă sunt poate întrebări scurte, cu plăcere voi răspunde. Dacă da, aștept publicul din sală sau din...
Cât durează proiectul?
Da, foarte bună întrebare. Deci, de obicei, este o neconcordanță între persoanele politice sau cele care sunt la guvernare sau care doresc să fac ceva și, de fapt, realitățile științifice, încât s-a dorit să fie în jumătate de an realizat acest proiect. Eu, din start, am spus că nu este real sau este real, dar să fie ceva care nu va fi într-o formă prea serioasă și prea, deci, bine organizată. Încât a durat peste 2 ani, deci efectiv tot lucrul de colectare. Da, datele sigur că erau, deci atlasul apărând la sfârșitul anului 2014, a cuprins toate datele respective și se discută despre o reeditare, chiar sunt solicitări destule. Atlasul nu este chiar nici de găsit, de cumpărat sau din străinătate, chiar foarte interesant, specialiști care există la nivel mondial, care urmăresc acesta. Este primul atlas regional, de fapt, a primit și o distincție, adică o mențiune din partea Societății Cartografice Internaționale. Este primul atlas regional în 4 limbi realizat. Asta tot este un aspect important, accesibilitatea la informații, deci chiar și recomandările Comisiei Internaționale de Cartografie, pentru că trebuie să țină cont de toate limbile oficiale a regiunii respective. Găgăuzia, având 3 limbi oficiale, era deja din start corect să fie acestea incluse, plus limba engleză, care eu consider că este de importanță de a fi și ea, deci, peste tot menționat, ca să aibă accesul în exterior la rezultatele științifice și orice regiune care este vizată. Da, mulțumim foarte mult. Da, vă rog.
Da, ar fi caz că deja este formată harta Găgăuziei determinată, care ar fi un punct de referință pentru că se reflectă informația, cum am spus, din surse diferite, oficiale, sunt date incorrecte. Ar fi cazul că s-a stabilit deja informația amplă de bază pentru efectuarea stării reale.
Sigur că asta și este scopul acestor lucrări care sunt făcute de specialiști geografici verificate. Apropo, chiar și în cazul acestui atlas au fost câteva elemente chiar care au corectat inclusiv hărțile oficiale ale Republicii Moldova, care sunt peste tot editate și care aveau o greșeală la nivel administrativ, la nivelul comunii Carbalia, de exemplu. După cercetări minuțioase am determinat că de fapt era reprezentată greșit în toate hărțile chiar care aparțin, care oficial erau editate la Chișinău și am făcut un demers și s-a corectat acest aspect. Deci, cercetând, noi însuși descoperim și descoperind, atunci contribuim la corectarea și la a aduce realitățile, cum ar veni, deci, pentru publicul larg și pentru specialiști care de obicei credem că le cunosc, dar și nici specialiștii uneori pot să fie duși în eroare pentru că la nivelul acesta detaliat nimeni nu știe exact chiar și trebuie cercetat, investigat ca să putem aduce acest aport important de a reprezenta cât mai corect, da, orice aspect, orice fenomen din perspectivă geografică.
Aveți perspectivă pe care va planul pentru astfel de lucrări pe alte regiuni de Moldova?
Da, eu am și ideea era ca model să servească și pentru alte unități teritoriale administrative la nivel de raioane, de ce nu? Pentru că, dar sigur că aici sunt câteva aspecte care una ține de oamenii, de specialiști care sunt destul de puțini, care, dar să zicem, am putea, să poate de acoperit din partea chiar Institutului de Ecologie Geografie plus ceilalți colegi de la alte instituții. Și un alt aspect mai complicat încă este finanțarea, pentru că un atlas nu este o carte alb-negru, dar necesită o finanțare cel puțin a editării și sigur că în mod normal și a muncii de a elabora aceste materiale. Și aici sigur că deja depinde de partea care este o lacună generală la multe cercetări, dar ar trebui să găsim cumva soluții să fie acoperite, pentru că este de importanță, eu cred că mai mare chiar poate decât multe alte aspecte. Da, vă mulțumim. Atunci, dacă mai sunt întrebări din mediul online, cu plăcere răspundem. Dacă nu, atunci trecem la ultima prezentare. Și de data aceasta este o punte dintre Republica Moldova și Polonia. O să invit pe doamna Valerina Țurcan, colega noastră de la Institutul de Ecologie și Geografie, dar la fel reprezentanta comunității poloneze, a Ligii Femeilor Poloneze din Moldova, pentru a ne prezenta o scurtă comunicare, urme ale polonezilor în Republica Moldova. Traces of Poles in the Republic of Moldova, so some information about the Polish community in the Republic of Moldova, which I hope it's one of the topic of interest also for the geographical researchers. Da, vă rugăm. My presentation take off. Yeah, you can. Screen. Da, după cum cunoașteți, în Republica Moldova există atât în prezent o comunitate poloneză destul de activă, chiar dacă nu atât de numeroase ca alte minorități, dar există multe perspective istorice din punctul de vedere a interferenței dintre polonezi, Polonia și teritoriul Republicii Moldova.
Vă mulțumesc pentru invitație. O să înțeleg că de acum timpul este peste ora 5, toți suntem obosiți și o să mă strădui cât se poate de succint să prezint informația în mod expres. Ca să dau o altă culoare întâlnirii de astăzi, vă prezint un șir de fotografii care reprezintă comunitatea poloneză. Da. Ca să simțiți atmosfera, tipajul reprezentanților.
Da, și povestiți despre ele.
Fotografiile date sunt din timpul activităților, în special Festivalul Primăvara Poloneză, iată al doilea festival. Vedeți că au fost reprezentanți și din România, Ucraina, Polonia. Această tradiție continuă până astăzi și în fiecare lună mai a fiecărui an se petrece acest festival, exclusiv pandemie de coronavirus. Vedeți persoanele în costume naționale, în special reprezintă regiunea Cracovia. De ce că, iată, istoricii au stabilit că o mare parte din polonezii care astăzi locuiesc aici au originea din regiunea Cracovia.
So the major part of the Polish minority have some links with the Krakow region.
Și din regiunile apusene ale Ucrainei.
And of course from the Ukrainian regions.
Asta e Biserica Romano-Catolică din Chișinău și e reprezentată slujba. Eu o să răsfoiesc, dumneavoastră vizualizați, primiți plăcerea, costumele tradițional naționale a polonezilor, dispoziție bună. Aceasta este agenda de la grădinița de copii cu grupa poloneză. În această grupă se duceau lecțiile în limba poloneză. Biserica Romano-Catolică din Bălți, reprezentanții diasporei din Comrat, reprezentanții din Stârcea, zimbrăria, cu zimbrii care au fost adunați de partea poloneză. Aceasta este Biserica Romano-Catolică din satul Stârcea, o grupă de copii din grădinița de copii poloneză. Acesta este monumentul hetmanului Julkevici, care a fost omorât aici pe teritoriul Republicii Moldova de către turci. Cred că iată aici. Aici avem, e reprezentată Soroca, cetatea Sorocii. În cetatea Sorocii a fost dislocat o garnizoană poloneză de curs de mai mulți ani. Și după recensământul populației din 1878, județul Soroca avea cea mai mare pondere de reprezentanță a etniei poloneze. Noi toți știm că Moldova este o țară polietnică și policonfesională și polonezii sunt unii din reprezentanții minorităților naționale. După datele statistice, ei reprezintă mai puțin de 1% ponderea polonezilor din total populația Republicii Moldova. Dar este un moment care nu este reflectat în statistică, desigur. Sunt cupluri care sunt formate nu numai din polonezi, adică mixte. Sunt ucraineni care, la timpul când au venit încoace în Moldova, nu s-au înregistrat ca fiind polonezi, din considerente ca să-și salveze viața, da? De aceea, de fapt, în diaspora poloneză activează mai multe persoane decât sunt indicați în statistica oficială. Liga Femeilor Poloneze și-a pus un scop să elaboreze o rută turistică pe urmele polonezilor din Republica Moldova. Acest scop a fost realizat cu ajutorul Asociației Ghizilor și Translatorilor și a fost finanțat de Agenția de Dezvoltare a Statelor Unite. Noi ne-am oprit la nordul Republicii, că el e mai dens populat de către polonezi și iată, vă arăt traseul care a fost. Cum să ies de aici? Am văzut-o. Așa, harta. Da. Iată, avem harta rutei turistice. Traseul turistic este elaborat reieșind din 2 zile, dar poate fi fracționat o zi pe jumătate de traseu și o zi pe altă jumătate. Chișinău, Orhei, Soloneț, Soroca, Cosăuți, Cobani, Pădurea Domnească, Stârcea, Bălți, Chișinău.
Poftim? A fost traseul istoric ceva.
El e și istoric. Acum și o să vedeți. El și istoric și demografic. Dar demografia ține de acum de geografie.
Linii polonezi.
Chiar de la fondarea statului moldav, o mare parte din ei au venit în urma răscoalelor din Polonia pentru independență 1794, 1830, 31, 1864. O mare parte au venit de acum când s-a instaurat puterea sovietică în Ucraina, mai ales în regiunile apusene, au venit încoace în Moldova. Acum vă arăt fotografiile care țin de traseu.
Da.
Mai să le văd. Așa, primul obiectiv asta este este Orheiul, în Orhei. Așa. În Orhei a fost construită Biserica Romano-Catolică de către Cezarina Doliva Dobrovolska. Cuplul ei era mixt, ea era catolică, soțul ortodox. El tot a construit o biserică ortodoxă în unul din satele din raionul Orhei. Aici vedem etapa de restaurare a bisericii. Și iată, acum vedem de acum biserica restaurată. E o perlă a arhitecturii. Mai departe vedem istoria bisericii reflectată în fotografii, în incinta bisericii. Următorul punct al traseului este Solonețul. În satul Soloneț, moșierul local a fost Constantin Brzozowski, de origine poloneză. A rămas moara, iată asta e clădirea morii, dar cel mai interesant că s-a păstrat utilajul și este funcțional din anii 30 a secolului trecut. Dar moara deja este în proprietate privată, cu toate că obiectivul este în registru istoric, da. Asta este conacul lui Constantin Brzozowski, în care mai mulți ani a fost situată o instituție pentru copii cu deficiențe de comportament. Din arhitectură n-a mai rămas nimic. Cetatea Sorocii. Este instaurat acum un monument în care ne informează că aici a fost dislocat garnizoana poloneză. În timpul dislocării garnizoanei s-au făcut un șir de lucrări de fortificare a cetății Soroca. Muzeul istorico-etnografic din satul Cosăuți. În satul Cosăuți a fost moșier Mihailovski, Tit, care de fapt e Tadeuș. Din banii proprii, dumnealui a donat 1200 de lei pentru prima școală laică din sat și a construit clădirea, asta este clădirea băncii agrare. Banca agrară dădea în leasing utilaj agricol proprietarilor. Tot în acest județ, în județul Soroca, a doua bancă agrară, care tot activa prin leasing, dădea utilaj țăranilor, Ciurnuleucă, Constantin Cazimir. Și iată, acesta e traseul de o zi. Diaspora poloneză are posibilitate, persoanele care nu cunosc limba poloneză, să învețe limba poloneză împreună cu profesorii veniți din Republica Polonia în baza acordului interstatal între Moldova și Polonia. Aceste lecții pot fi, doritorii pot să participe la aceste lecții la Universitatea de Stat din Chișinău, Universitatea de Stat din Bălți, Comrat, Stârcea. Iată, aici sunt profesori de limbă poloneză. Și sunt un șir de personalități marcante care au contribuit la dezvoltarea statului Moldova, având origini poloneză. Wojciechowski, Valentin, arhitect emerit, strada centrală, Ștefan cel Mare, un șir de clădiri proiectate de el, inclusiv clădirea pe care a instaurat placa comemorativă e judecătoria sau din centrul orașului. Și încă o personalitate, Tadeusz Malinovski, care este academician, care a fost academician. El a creat chimia, unul din domeniile chimiei în Republica Moldova și este fondatorul primei organizații etnoculturale poloneze din, de acum, Republica Moldova.
Da, mulțumim foarte mult, doamna Țurcan. Dacă sunt întrebări...
Dorin? Dorin, se aude?
Da, se aude.
Uite, tot s-a menționat și chiar și la tine în materialul care le-ai dat pentru monografie, pentru Regiunea Dezvoltare Nord, doamna Valeria, mai mult despre răspândirea polonezilor în partea din nord a Republicii. Dar ei nu au fost doar acolo. Chiar eu am găsit la începutul anului 90 în arhivă, iar ne-am conspectat un caz cu șleachtici Topolski și chiar urmașii lui sunt prezente, unul sau câteva familii în sat. De una știu precis, nu știu celelalte dacă au mai rămas. Adică se poate cumva de extins ca să vedem care e situația și în celelalte regiuni, pentru că ei, polonezii, ocupau o castă, spunem așa, socială, economică aparte, erau mari proprietari de terenuri și care le dețineau nu numai în nordul, clar că mai mult la nord, pentru că ne aproape de Polonia, dar, să spunem, prezența lor este și în centru și în sudul Republicii. Doar că trebuie, clar, că de mai consultat arhivele și de extins studiile și, să spunem, rezultatele astea și în celelalte părți republice. Asta am vrut să spun. Dar oricum, mulțumim pentru prezentare.
Într-adevăr, este așa. Polonezii sunt dislocați nu numai în raioanele de nord ale Republicii, dar eu m-am oprit la raioanele de nord, de ce că am prezentat ruta turistică elaborată în raioanele de nord. Avem diasporă poloneză și în Comrat, avem reprezentanți a diasporei poloneze în foarte multe sate, dar care este problema? Dacă, de pildă, nemții, când au primit pământuri aici, în Basarabia, ei erau dislocați compact, adică un sat întreg de nemți, polonezii invers, ei au fost dislocați în mai multe sate și e foarte greu să depistezi momentele acestea. Trebuie foarte multe studii, documentări, ca să spui la sigur că iată, ei au locuit aici, aici și aici. Dar care dorește să cunoască mai mult despre polonezii din Moldova, poate să acceseze culegerea de documente și studii polonezii în Moldova. Este o lucrare academică și este elaborată împreună cu reprezentanții Universității din Poznań. Printre altele, una din absolventele acestei universități, recent, un an în urmă, a apărat teza de doctor. Tema dumnei era polonezii din Basarabia în perioada interbelică și îi spune dumnei Scavronic Josefiac, Ana. La Universitatea din Poznań este facultatea de balcanistică.
Da, sigur că și există încă o serie de alte publicații care sunt despre polonezi și consacrate polonezilor. Sigur, cei care sunt interesați le pot consulta inclusiv în format electronic unele din ele, altele deci la bibliotecile și în fine deci unele reviste periodice a comunității polonezilor din Republica Moldova.
Care se editează în bălți. Este și versiune electronică.
Deci cine sunt interesați, cred că vor găsi mult mai multe materiale interesante despre viața comunității poloneze din prezent, dar și mult mai multe, sigur că aspecte din trecut legate de istorie. Dar noi vă mulțumim foarte mult pentru participare, mulțumim pentru cei care au stat și până la urmă la acest seminar științific. Sigur că, în primul rând, oaspeților noștri de la Universitatea Pedagogică din Cracovia, la Institutul de Geografie, domnilor Tomaș Padlo, Krzysztof Widerman, Pavel Struș, care au binevoit și au pregătit aceste prezentări și care sper să devină la fel deci un punct de plecare pentru unele cercetări de viitor, luând în considerație experiența, metodologia și sigur că schimbul reciproc de experiență între cercetători în domeniul științific. Sănătate tuturor! Dacă mai are cineva dorința să se expună într-un final, într-o ultimă minută. Dacă nu, materialele vor fi la fel stocate, deci cu amabilitatea Institutului pentru Dezvoltarea Societății Informaționale, căruia încă o dată doresc să mulțumesc în mod deosebit pentru efortul și contribuția pe care o fac la diseminarea informației științifice și a cercetărilor care le realizează toată comunitatea științifică din Moldova și nu numai. Sănătate și numai bine, o seară bună tuturor!
O zi productivă!
Mulțumim!
O seară liniștită!
Mulțumim colegilor la Universitatea de Stat din Tiraspol, la fel și tuturor celor prezenți de la Institutul de Ecologie Geografie.